Welcome. It's 2021. Now we get to talk about all the shit that we did in 2020. Because 2020 was a pretty good year for games, not for much else. Lots of downtime. So we're just gonna have a fun little ranking thing. We're gonna talk about some games we've played. I've got some buddies with me. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Buddy? Yeah. I'm Nick, and I played probably like 23% of the games that Zach was talking about, but I'm here to pitch in when I can.
It's a very precise fraction of games. I'm Will. I play as much or more video games than Zach.
Probably true.
I don't know.
Probably true.
Yeah. He plays more console games than I do.
Yeah. You don't even own a console anymore, do you? Or just...
I haven't had one that's been plugged in the last 2 years, 3 years.
just
But I'm looking at my N64 and Wii, just decorating my TV cabinet.
That's really all you need. That's just kind of a set piece for like the room, brings it together.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, bit of an explanation of how this all kind of works. It's going to follow a pretty similar format to the text-based reviews that I've done in the past, for those of you who have been familiar with them. But basically, the criteria is more or less this. The game doesn't necessarily need to have come out in 2020 to qualify. I just need to kind of have played it. Secondly, games that I've played in previous years can make their way back onto this list, and definitely can make their way into my top 10. If it comes back into the top 10, though, I usually have some type of good reasoning for that. Otherwise, something like Hollow Knight, which I probably play once every 2 months just for shits and giggles, would top out at the list every single time. So if something's going to be like a repeat into the top 10, it's going to have a good reason for it, and I'll of course break down why. When it comes to playing games, I usually rate them not only on the gameplay itself, but also my experience with the game. So I might play a totally shit show game, but if I was playing it with a bunch of people and we were all drunk and having a great time, then it might be ironically good enough that it gets a high rating. So the experience weighs in as much as the actual game. And I guess this is as good a time as any to mention that this is all not objective. It's subjective. It is very far from objective. I'm not like analyzing the deep details of the intricacies of the story and the gameplay and how the shit works and all that stuff. So it's just, did I like it, and was it fun to play? And then I think platforms for this year, I didn't write all of them down, but it ranges from mobile to PC. No handhelds. I don't think I did any handhelds this year. And then console.
Mobile's taking over the spot in handhelds for me.
Yeah, I don't think I've touched my 3DS in a while.
I literally touched it to move it into the box, at which it will stay there for another 2 years. But other than that, also Switch is also filling the spot as handheld as well. I mean, Switch is arguably just as much of a handheld as a console. I played a lot on the couch and in bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say some people at Nintendo started crying when you were explaining the Switch as a handheld.
I mean, I very well Joy-Con drift. Get on it, Nintendo. I don't want to. I'm playing that shit on planes, and I can't play. It makes it impossible. That's actually become an issue, and I'm really sad about it. Mine finally started drifting. So basically, here's a quick breakdown of at least my type of rating scale. Will's kind of got his own, and I'll let him explain that after I give a quick overview of mine. So I work on 5 points. I don't necessarily do 10 because I feel like there's too much there, but I did have to include a 0 in past years because I did play games that I not only actively dislike but tell people to avoid. That's what a 0 is for me. An example of this would be The Last Starfighter for the 0 people who know what that game is. It's just basically a very terrible old NES game that actively makes you want to break whatever TV you're playing. So that's a 0. A 1 is kind of meh. It's something that I didn't enjoy but had enough interest to at least try and probably didn't finish. That's not necessarily a hard criteria. But a lot of the ones that I give ones are things that I pick up for a little bit and then drop. So something like Mirror's Edge really couldn't hold my attention, and I think I've only got like an hour of gameplay in it, and I just never came back to it. A 2 is an all right. It's a game that I play sparingly, or I've finished, but maybe didn't enjoy it the entire way through playing it. Notable enough not to necessarily hate or strongly dislike, but I'm not really compelled to play it or try it again over other games. Potentially controversial take, but it gives you some insight for me. Halo Reach is a 2 for me. A 3 is a good game. Something that held my attention from start to finish, or I'd consider playing again or actively if it's a multiplayer game. Might have certain aspects that I really greatly enjoy. So Super Mario Galaxy was a game that I really liked playing from start to finish, and it was fun. A great game is a 4, something that I really like to the point where I might recommend it if I know that that person's into that specific genre. Or I'll play it frequently if it's got like multiplayer aspects to it. So a 4 for me would be Borderlands 2. 5 is outstanding, phenomenal, anything I would just dump hours and hours of my life into, or something that is so much fun that I'll like not play other games that I really should be, and I'll play the 5 instead. Which I've already brought up, Hollow Knight is a 5. And that has definitely got a shot in getting into a top 10 of all time, if that's a 5 game. So that's my ranking system.
I think it's a good summary of 5s, because a lot of times, like, the Steam library ranks, like, it builds over time, and most of the time, none of those games look as appealing as those, like, staples.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can all compare ourselves. Like, we all know what a 5 is.
Well,
a game that you would just easily hop in and play, as opposed to putting the effort of learning a new game.
Well, yeah. And I think, though, as an interesting point, at least for single-player games, Will, you kind of have a different opinion, because you don't really go back and replay stuff, right? Once it's done, it's done.
Never. Nope. TV shows, video games, movies. I rarely ever rewatch or replay anything.
So how does your ranking kind of differ beyond what I've described?
I think mine's a little more generous than yours. So to me, a 3 still get 3 is a recommendation that's conditional on what kind of game you might think you enjoy. So if you enjoy the same kinds of games as me, a 3 I would say I would recommend that you play that. It's worth your time, it's worth your money, and you're gonna have a good time with it. A 4 is like a really good game that I had a lot of fun with. And then a 5 is like something that's really excellent. That, like I'll play the 5 over something else. Even if like I had recently purchased that something else, and I ought to be giving that a shot. A 1 is something that I would not recommend anyone play. You have to. That's pretty much it. 1 is dumpster.
Would you say that
2,
you have a 0?
I don't really think there's any reason to go below a 1
Okay.
on my rating scale. 2, I don't think I really have any games on my list as a 2. I would have to think that it's bad but not garbage. Like, you have to be really into that variety of game. And you have just such a wildly different set of tastes than I do to enjoy that game that maybe you shouldn't be listening to my ranking system.
Fair enough.
I also have a new ranking system that is not a 1 to 5 or how good or bad a game is, but rather how long I would want to play the game. And this is my first year with this ranking system, but it's something like a Jackbox game is great, but I wouldn't want to play it for 5 hours straight. So it's getting a ranking measured in minutes. I have several other games that are getting a minute ranking.
Okay. I think we're actually probably going to maybe even hit a little bit of contention on that. Not necessarily based off of whether or not... Contention's probably not a good word. I think it's just going to bring up interesting discussion based off of some of the... I'm looking at my list right now, and there's some games on here that are just going to be like, I have way too many hours in and got really low scores, and then not a lot of hours in and got pretty high scores. So I think it'll be interesting when those come up.
I think we're going to fight.
Yeah, probably. It is likely at some point.
If Will doesn't rage quit off this call, then we failed.
So, Nick, I know you don't necessarily have a list, but was there anything in particular that really reached out to you this year?
Well, I get to start. It's a lot of pressure. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you asking for a game right away?
Yeah, why
Or
not?
just in general?
I mean, just in general, why not?
Well, so just in general, games this year have been so different because it's like I've pulled in like friends and family who've never played games into playing games this year, just because there's nothing else we can really do.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's been an interesting year in the sense that some games that would have never really blown up have blown up to some like non unintended viral popularity, which I think brings it higher up on the list. Because like in my opinion, if a game accomplishes getting people together and having a good time, it's accomplished its goal. It's kind of like what Will's saying though. It's a different category completely. Because like you could have a whole ranking system on games that have successfully gotten people into playing games and had fun, and maybe like your enjoyment level is like at a 50%, but everyone else is enjoying it too. Versus a game when you can like just immerse yourself and have fun for 8 hours is a different type of game. But yeah, I'd say in general, this year has been full of games that I wouldn't have expected to have been fun, but I just have because it's been able to share them, share them with the people around us. If that makes any sense?
Yeah, I think it does. I think two games in particular that I know one you weren't necessarily so keen on. The other one I think you enjoyed a little bit more. Was I tried to get several people to play Hollow Knight this year. Kind of succeeded. You were one of those.
Yeah.
And I know that like it's not necessarily a party game, but just like I got a lot of enjoyment out of watching you play that from time to time streaming it. I'm pretty sure at some point I made you like just videotape that. It's like, put it on your phone. I'll get on Discord. I want to watch.
With no ability to video share it from our Switch. Yeah, I had to like set up a phone for me to, and like I get that enjoyment.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of a group game, but like I don't know, it's a game you enjoy so much you want to see someone play it. If you've spent 100 plus hours, 200 plus hours like you have.
Yep. Did the same thing with Will and Breath of the Wild. So.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun.
It was. It was also fun to watch the shaders get deleted and then regrown, remade.
You didn't watch that.
No, I didn't, but
There wasn't enough frame rate over Discord or whatever we were using, Twitch,
yeah.
for you to notice.
Always funny though with like that 10-second latency, you'd just be like, oof, and it'll be like, uh-oh, something's coming. Alright, so getting into it then. The other games, as I call them, of 2020, things that did not make the list. The top 10. So the first one for me is Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, which is a Kickstarter-funded Castlevania-style game. Metroidvania, if you will. They added 3 new modes, and there was basically different characters from the story that you could kind of go in and play as. Both of those, the Zangetsu and the Bloodless mode, didn't really enjoy that much. There's a lot less utility. I think it's always cool when you can go into a video game and play as like a villain character, but at the same time, the combat was already so well put together in Bloodstained, which I'm pretty sure had a 4 out of 5 on my last year's ranking, that I didn't think it could use that much improvement. So I didn't really enjoy that aspect, but they added a randomizer, and that made it a lot of fun. I would definitely give that a 4 out of 5 on the randomizer, just because like getting late game upgrades early, trying to figure out how to play the game without like basic skills like double jump, that was very creative and fun. So very good there. I can't believe they're still pushing out content from the Kickstarter. I think they have like 2 more things they need to do, and one of them's going to be multiplayer, which I have no idea how they're going to do that. But yeah.
Only comment I'd have to say on that is I love the idea of randomizer. I never played this game, so I don't have much to add to the game.
Mm-hmm.
But from a fan of platformings, like of platforming games, the prospect of me being able to replay a game and have it randomize the experience every time is a sweet idea. I hope more companies try that out.
Or at least give debug stuff like that. Something to just completely take the gameplay and turn it on its head. And obviously that really doesn't work for probably more big budgeted, like you couldn't do this with Cyberpunk per se, or at least you would have to like heavily mod that to even make sense. And I don't even think that works for that style of game anyway, because it's more.
But there's definitely a rise in certain types of platforming. I think of like Cuphead. Like a randomization option in Cuphead would be awesome to like limit you to a certain amount of abilities.
Mhm.
So it's not just like an optimized way to play the game. That'd be, I like that idea.
Mods are great. Second one, and this is one that I know that we can all talk about because we all played it together. Borderlands 3 gets a 3 out of 5. I did enjoy it, mostly because I played it with you guys, honestly. I didn't think the story was that great. The characters are so-so. While I really love Zane as a character, I think his dialogue is hilarious. Not being able to hit, what was it? Can't hit a cow's ass with a banjo, something like that. Like, hilarious dialogue. I loved all the interactions he had. Not that fun to play. I think you got the best class for sure, which I should have just suspected was the Siren. Yes.
Oh yeah, that was really fun.
I don't know. I had a lot of fun playing Titanfall.
Titanfall, dude.
Well, your guy was so broken. You could like one-shot stuff. I'm like sitting here. I'm like, guys, I got a shield, and then like you're just
Honestly,
trucking forward, plowing through people.
I never noticed your ability once, Zach. Like I never noticed when you were doing your thing and when it even was. Like I was obvious, I think. Will's was obvious, and then Ryan was the beast guy with his little guy, like assistant guy who would basically revive us for free and revive himself for free.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty obvious. But yeah, your guy had the best dialogue. What seemed like the worst abilities.
Yeah, definitely not as. I mean, coming off of the pre-sequel and playing Athena, who I think is my favorite character to play as in a Borderlands game, just because her ability was so fun, like absorbing the damage in the shield and then like going full on Captain America and just ricocheting that off of people and watching them explode was amazing. And Zane, yeah, like you said, not that flashy besides his dialogue. I will give it this. The way that the gunplay in general, you can slide and kind of like have all this mobile action, that felt really great. That I liked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah. I had a bit of an opposite experience with the characters. Titanfall Girl is totally bland as a character. I can't remember a single voice line she had from that like whole game. But I played the I don't know what her name was, the Dominatrix in the pre-sequel, and it was a fucking riot.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely loved all the character interactions, although her ability sucked.
High Noon, but worse.
High Noon, but it was made bad because the Borderlands 2 engine is just such garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which I thought they improved on really well for this one. Like, I felt...
Yeah.
Yeah. I could do what I wanted to do most of
much
the time.
needed improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a similar ranking for you, Will? Was that a 3 for you, or higher, lower?
Yeah. Yep, that got a 3 from me. It's not something I would have ever played single player. You guys know this, but I never finished Borderlands 2 when I played it single player.
Gasp.
So you have to have a group of people you want to play Borderlands 3 with, and you have to be down for the Borderlands style of gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Although to be honest, if I'm playing with a bunch of friends, I will put up with a lot of gameplay nonsense.
I know how to get him into Monster Hunter now, Nick. Gotta find a fourth.
Tried that. Gotta find a fourth. I would say, I mean, you guys both said it already, but I'd give this game like a 1.5 in single player if I were to have to play it by myself. But with a group of 4 of us, I put it as a 3 as well, and maybe even 3.5, just because it adds so much more. Like, it fills a role that I can't think of any other game. You know, I can't think of a single game when it's like we got 4 people, we want to do a campaign together. I'm sure they exist, but in my experience, I haven't tried that yet.
Kind of like a Left 4 Dead type of game.
Yeah, but with more depth. Like, this had a story. I don't remember much of the story because it really wasn't memorable, but it had one.
I mean, not to spoil too much, but the event of someone transforming into a certain object was pretty good.
God, I wish we would have had that on like a recording. That was hilarious.
So yeah.
It had some good moments.
I still can't remember. Was that actually what happened? Or
no,
No.
the way that that person transformed, and then like that object was kind of there in place. It just looked like it, and we were like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, and
So.
whoever just mentioned that, it was supposed to be a really epic, like sad, depressing scene.
Just like, well, yeah,
Oh,
out the window, out the window. Only humor, no feels.
yeah.
All right, moving on. All right, do you have something? Or
No, I said my bad for ruining the moment.
oh no, that was worth it.
That's the
That
only
was
moment I
hilarious.
remember.
Yeah, that's all we remember.
The only memorable thing in the whole story. I don't
That
care.
and doing science, like whatever that game was, we were putting
Oh, yeah.
genomes together or some shit.
Oh yeah, we were curing COVID, one arcade game at a time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Drawful 2 was made free, I think in March, once the pandemic hit. I would give this game, in terms of Jackbox, I would say it's a 3. In terms of a game on its own right, probably a 2 out of 5. It's definitely one of the ones I lean towards a bit more when I'm like looking for good games out of Jackbox. I like the interactivity of it, especially now that I actually have a tablet with a stylus that I can use. And it usually ends up being a pretty good time. I think my only gripe with it is it's always a lot more fun to put in an answer that you know will never get picked, but it's hilarious,
Oh yeah, for sure.
rather than like actually win the game. But I mean, no one really cares anyway, I guess, if you're winning. So just it's a read the crowd type of thing, but it's still pretty hilarious, I'd say.
Yep.
Yep.
It's
So this
the-
game was on my list as a minute ranking, which I should have said before goes from I think 0 to an hour is as long as I'll rank these games. I gave it a 30 minutes. Which is not to say that there's a 30-minute cap on how long I would play this game, but I don't want to. It's in the category of games that can be really fun, but not for like a couple hours consecutive.
Right.
This is like the got my aunt and uncle, mom and dad to play, who've never played video games. That goes in this category for me.
Yeah.
Like, I tried a couple Jackbox games, and this one just kind of lands with people because everyone can draw on their phones. Like, you don't need to know any rules. You just draw a picture and you get to make fun of people's drawings. Doesn't matter how you arrange that, but that's just a fun activity. So that'll always score high in my books. I think I gave it a 3.5.
Something else that I think was actually pretty funny about this iteration in particular is that, they usually give you weird prompts like a camel mowing the lawn or something like that. But they got really smart in between 1 and 2, and they started putting in like punctuation, which like it's like, oh, no one would guess that. You just put that in there because you thought it's funny, and then it ends up being that one. So it's always funny when they kind of pull a fast one on you there with that.
Yep.
All right, well, here is the big blockbuster for the 2 weeks that it did rain. Maybe a little bit longer than that. Fall Guys. 2 out of 5.
Oh,
2 out of 5 for me on Fall Guys. I played it, and I think I've experienced literally everything I want to ever play about it again. I don't think I ever got to number 1. I got to number 2 a lot. Never got to number 1.
I have an interesting story about this game. So I had also give it a 2 out of 5, or it was pretty bad the first time I played it on my PC in my own room, like with it on a chat with you guys. And then like 3 months later, my brother-in-law came over he stayed the night, and we ended up turning our Xbox on. He had this game on his Xbox, so we played it for like at least 5, maybe like 4 or 5 hours. Just we'd pass the controller. One person would play, we'd cheer, like egg him on, cheer him on, and we'd pass it to like my wife Lexi, and then she'd play it around, and then Riley would play. And like that was, I think, how this game is best enjoyed, because it was extremely fun with like watching, like kind of trash talking each other, but also just like trying to solve what's the best route together. I had a really fun time playing it. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 because of that experience. It was very fun in that kind of party setting, which is kind of a bummer you can't do that right now, but. It is fun in the right setting. I can see why you wouldn't like it though. I mean, you really have to be patient and also willing to like, if you're playing with a group or you're watching people. See, that's the thing, is that in that setting, when you're like playing with 4 people and you got out the first round, you're sitting there for like 3/4 of your time, which I think you mentioned
it's a
before.
bummer.
It's not a fun experience.
Yeah,
it's not fun. So just kind of like playing one game and then watching someone fail and immediately switching the controller around, I think it's a little more fun.
This one's on my minute ranking as like 10 minutes. It's like, okay, we'll play this and I'm down a couple drinks and then immediately switch to something else. I think is how this game should be enjoyed. I would begrudgingly give it a 2 if I were to give it a ranking in the other system. Not because I enjoyed it at a 2 ranking, but because I recognize some people out there might be really into that style of game.
Sure.
Kind of almost battle royale kind of game. But it
Also-
still suffers from all the things that I think make battle royale games really boring.
For sure, yeah. I will say also accessibility is like super high on this game. Besides like the other Jackbox games, if you can move a character around the screen and jump, you can like experience this game to its fullest. Which I will say for Lexi, she was able to play this game and like do well, where she normally does not do well and doesn't enjoy games like that. So
Sure. Yeah.
that's another reason why it would rank high. But
So yours is a
Doesn't
little
have much
more
depth to it.
objective on that
Oh, for sure.
front. Yeah.
yes, for sure.
Get her started on Fall Guys, and in 2 years she'll be playing Rainbow Six.
It's
a gateway drug.
Flicking. Yeah. League.
She'll be the one staying up until 2 a.m. So this next one, probably gonna get a lot of shit for. It's a game near and dear to my heart. I have quit it. I have come back to it. I've had an abusive relationship with. Thankfully, not in the sense of gambling, but the idea that I want to play this, then I don't want to play this. Fire Emblem Heroes. My one and only venture into gacha games, and it will probably retain that title because I despise gacha games. But this one's just too easy. I at least know some of the lore loosely, which makes it slightly more enjoyable, I guess. And the gameplay is not bad, it's just, unfortunately, I think this year in particular, starting to really suffer badly from power creep. This is a game I think that's changed like its rating every single year. I would say that I would not recommend this to people if you have not already been playing it since launch, because it is going to be very hard to catch up. You could play it casually, sure, but if you end up liking it, you're gonna feel bad because it's gonna be really hard to be competitive. For someone that has been playing it since launch and then I got rid of my account and then made a new one halfway through, it was still pretty hard, but I was committed enough to try it anyway. So I don't know, I'd give it around a 3 for that type of person. But yeah, this is hard occupying my one gacha spot. I am no longer spending any money on it. I think I've maybe thrown $50 towards the game in general. But
It's not that bad. From what you told me, I thought it was gonna be more.
No, I would be scared to look at how many hours I put into this game because I do think I have played it at least like 30 minutes every day.
I mean, there's the argument that you spent there $50 for hundreds of hours of gameplay. That's generally not that bad of it.
No, and that's not why I stopped spending money. I stopped spending money because they introduced a monthly pay system that literally gives you stat boosts for some characters. So I wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying about the gameplay. Zach got me into it last year, well, technically like 2019. So
I
doesn't
think it
make my
was
ranking for this game.
2018.
It
might have been 2018.
Yeah, at some point.
You've been around for a while.
Yeah, and like the gameplay was fun. It was like I played Advance Wars, kind of Advance Warsy. I liked that game when I played it.
Intelligent
On mobile,
Systems?
yeah, it's fun. But then like seeing your characters versus mine, seeing like what I'd have to get to, it's just very daunting. Talk about accessibility, super low.
Oh yeah.
Does not give you hope.
Why is your 12-year-old girl mage kicking my buff muscular axe guy's ass?
Right. Yeah. I like the puzzle aspect of it. I like the mobile side where you can hop on for 10 minutes and play. I wish I had more games like that, but yeah, they try to make money. How dare they try to make money?
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
So this is, I actually need to correct myself. I did play a handheld this year. Mario 35th Anniversary introduced the Game & Watch Super Mario Bros. I am kind of shocked at how different this game is. They really updated it for like Mario Maker 1 and 2. The physics are so different from the original base game. I die a lot in this game. But it's nice. It's just a small console that's got basically the original Mario Bros, the Lost Levels, which was not released initially in America, and then I think it has like one of the Game and Watch games on it. Ball. I've played it maybe once or twice. I'm gonna give this one like, I don't know. This one's kind of hard to rate. I would give it a 2 out of 5 just because I got that much enjoyment out of it. I really don't play it that often, and I probably get more use just watching the clock. It was kind of fun to find the 35 different secrets that were hidden throughout the day. Some of which were hidden very well and kind of weird, but it's a nice little collector's item. So I like having it.
Kind of reminds me of the SNES Mini, NES Mini, that kind of category of like, it's nice to have and definitely a collector's item. I have an SNES Mini because that was my favorite console, and I've pulled it out once or twice, but never really planned to play it for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm. This next one I'm really interested actually to hear Will's rating of, but Genshin Impact. I think I've maybe played an hour or two of this, and then I accidentally wasted what felt like at the time a premium currency on one character. I didn't want to level up, and I kind of dropped it. It just feels like worse Breath of the Wild, and part of my angst towards it is definitely that it's a gacha style game. It's definitely interesting. I think the combat's well thought out. I like the idea that you can switch between multiple characters in your party to kind of do like different ranged attacks or spells or have a big sword dude. And most of the characters were all right. A couple of them suffer, I think, pretty heavily from anime syndrome. Like you have this familiar little fairy that follows you around that speaks in third person and has a baby voice that I couldn't stand. But I think this caters to a very specific kind of niche of people that are either into more anime-styled JRPGs or kind of like this adventure-style game, but also wouldn't mind spending money trying to pull at a ludicrously low rate for some rare units.
Well, oh, you got more?
No, I was just gonna. What you got for us?
I ended up not giving this one a number just because I didn't play it necessarily to my heart's content. It's a gacha game, and I would never recommend you get into it to the point where you are relying upon gacha pulls in order to progress the game. It seems very clear to me that there's a period of time which you could play this game and not have to give a single crap about gacha and experience some story, experience some of the open world and like the Breath of the Wild elements and have a good time with it. And I would recommend you get to whatever point that was. I didn't get to the end of that period, but play it for the honeymoon phase and then drop it. It's definitely it's not as good as Breath of the Wild. It's obviously Breath of the Wild inspired, and I wouldn't necessarily call it a worse Breath of the Wild. It's a game that tried to add the great elements of Breath of the Wild to it, and it should be admired for that. So if you like, I guess I would give it a 3 because if you like, RPGs, especially if you like the JRPG stuff, there's some really interesting components of this game to be had. I really wish I had the opportunity to play with a party, because you can play, I think, with up to 4 people. It would be really fun to enjoy the honeymoon period with a group of people, potentially.
Well, I think that was part of the problem. Was I was searching on Reddit. It's like, when can you play multiplayer? And most people were like, 8 to 10 hours into the game. And I was like, oh, yikes.
Apparently the internet loves this game, though. I see people post on it all the time. It has a huge following, but I guess a lot of these gacha games do. It seems like it's well done. Obviously the developers spent a lot of love and care into it, and I'm sure it's got tons of depth and aspects to it. I downloaded it, didn't really play it much. I tried it on mobile because that part kind of excited me. I'm like, ooh, a mobile game that's not Hearthstone, which we'll get to, that I just kind of don't have a good mobile game right now. And it just immediately felt like it was missing so much. I would have had so much better time with a controller or a keyboard and mouse. I'm sure it's doable on mobile. I've seen people play it on mobile, but it's like trying to play Breath of the Wild on mobile.
You didn't want it bad enough.
Yeah. I didn't want it bad enough.
I've heard it described as the first AAA gotcha game. I feel like that suits it really well.
Yep, I can see that.
I guess to also kind of, again, not necessarily my experience per se, but there is a YouTuber I watch that had his account stolen, and apparently their customer service is abysmally bad for shit like that.
It's a Chinese company.
Yeah.
I would expect no less.
So, unfortunate.
No more.
Unfortunate. All right. Gmod. I think I've been sitting on this game for forever. This is actually a game that I think very highly of, but it does kind of go into that gray area of I play it a lot, but there's not really necessarily anything new with it ever introduced besides what mods get added. This is really more just like I want to do something very mind-numbing, and I want to like blow up a bunch of ragdolls with rocket launchers type of game. Just very sandboxy, very simplistic. I had this one sitting at a 3. I think it's probably more deserving of at least a 4 based off of how often I probably just go on and play and fuck around. And I do like the creativity of a lot of what's in there. I mean, half of it is like you can dress up as your favorite anime person, but then you can dress up as your favorite anime person while fighting Geralt of Rivia in a Ferrari with rockets attached to the back of it. So
like a 13-year-old's like fever dream.
Yeah, it's basically all fanfic power stuff,
Yeah.
which is just kind of funny. I played this a couple of times earlier in the year with my cousins, and we were just fucking around doing whatever. Every once in a while, I like to dabble into some of the horror mods that they have out there. A lot of, if you guys know who Trevor Henderson is, which I wouldn't be surprised if you're unfamiliar, but basically he just kind of makes creepy cryptid photos. He'll like take basically a normal looking photo and then kind of edit a strange creature into it, and it's got a very SCP kind of vibe to it. But people basically took that and put those monsters into the game, and they stalk you in various ways. So I just kind of like screwing around with shit like that. Any strong opinions otherwise?
I think I know what Will's gonna say, and I'll echo it. Is that every time we try to play in a group, there's always some technical problem with it. Like I love the idea of playing some of these games and like as a group on multiplayer, but I've never had all the textures load right and have the game work flawlessly. I mean, it's because it's a hack. Like it's a hacked game intentionally, so you can't really expect any polish. So I don't know if I never really tried it single player, but if the game could have more easy ways to like play as a group with these cool game modes and have sandbox features, I can see it being fun. I've never really had a solid experience for us hopping on and like getting a consistent game going.
Yeah, it's really weird because I never have problems when I play with my cousins. And like for whatever reason, we can never get prop hunt to work.
Yeah. Yes, I know.
I think that's probably also, we played a lot of prop hunt too. That must have been it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I'm gonna say. I would never play Gary's mod single player. I've tried, download some map and try to get into it, but I never really felt engaged with it. Always technical issues. Not everyone is as tech savvy as like me. I feel like I never have issues. I'm never the one with the issues, but like trying to get someone else to like join the lobby was difficult, or like dealing with prop hunt for some reason. That's always like the buggiest experience. I'd really like to do Trouble in Terrace Town, but like we never have a group that's large enough to make that really viable.
The OG Among Us, as they call it.
Yeah, kind of is.
So if I were to give this a rating, it would be a 2.
Fair enough. Another party style game, golf with your friends. This was on my list last year. I think it actually made top 10 last year, which kind of tells you the pretty big gap between how many games I played in 2019 versus 2020. 3 out of 5, I would keep it there. I do think that this is a decent enough party game that I have no issue hopping on with people if they're like well, we could play golf. It's just kind of getting to that point. I feel like a lot of the time is not everyone's so wanting to hop on, but I think they've been doing pretty good with it. And there was a couple new maps introduced this year. Most of them are pretty fun. I like the fact that you can add in your own little modifiers with jumping. Power-ups have had mixed success with, at least in large groups. They're either hit or miss, I think, for the most part. But nice little variety of game modes. Nice little party game.
Golf with Your Friends has come a long way in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they've made more progress in just refining the game experience and the menus and everything in the last year than they had in the previous two.
I also think
It's
it
a
looks a
game-
little bit better, just in general.
Yeah. I don't remember what it looked
Yeah.
like before, but I think it looks pretty good, all things considered. It's one of the only games that I can say no matter how inebriated you get, you'll just have a fun time because there's no like salt involved with you like not doing well. There's no like you dying a bunch as if in FPS. It's just like kind of the same way as like I know you have it later, but Scribble.io is just like a let's just have fun kind of game.
Clearly, we haven't played enough Contact Golf with Your Friends with you.
Yeah, but you always turn the collisions off. That's why it's never adversarial.
Oh, there's a way to turn collisions on?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Which I will completely cave to. If Will's kicking my butt, I'll try like towards the end to get as far ahead as possible and then just camp the hole. I don't do it a lot, but I do it from time to time.
There was a period of my history with Golf with Your Friends which I was like a god compared to everyone else. It was awesome.
Mm.
And then I think I started drinking more. Anyways, I gave this a 50 out of 60 minutes
That's pretty good.
ranking.
That's pretty good.
I wouldn't play this all night. This is a transitory kind of game. And I wouldn't start this game sober unless I was planning to end it drunk.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So this is going to seem probably strange, jumping from Golf with Your Friends at a 3 out of 5 to GTA 5 at a 2 out of 5. This game is weird. The multiplayer I didn't think was very good. I know Will and I tried to get it going a couple of times, and I think we kind of just gave up after one point because we were doing a lot of those, like just go in, kill a bunch of people, get whatever they were hiding, and then we tried a different type of game which involved other players, and I think we got our asses rocked in like the first 15 minutes just by people who were kind of going around and blowing other people up, and we're like, yeah, maybe this isn't the best. I was actually kind of grabbed by the single player though, at least for a while. I think it's a lot different. I haven't really played a game like this before. This is my first GTA game, period. So the idea that you kind of switch between these two characters, and something I remember like talking one time, I was like, it was really weird. Like I was about to go do a mission, and then I just kind of switched over to another character, and when I went back, like the mission was gone, and they were like picking up their kid from dance class or some shit. And Will's like, yeah, they have lives. They're on their own time. They're not gonna wait for you. I was like, so that was kind of interesting. This is also kind of low on the list just because I really don't think I played it that much. It was nice that I got it for free. I don't think I would have spent money on this. I don't know. This is probably going to fall on the Witcher 3 list, which means I might come back to it at some point. But we'll see.
I would give this game easy 4. I didn't play it this year. I played it in 2015. It was the first game I played with my gaming PC that I built with my internship money in college. A great game. The single player or the multiplayer is a pass. You can do missions with just your friends that are really simple and short. Otherwise, you're stuck in this open world with random people. There's no way to get a private open world lobby. So if you want to do the great, engaging, multi-element missions across the whole island of Los Santos, you got to deal with all the trolls.
Yeah.
So hard pass. But the single player is a hell of an experience. All the voice acting I think is great. It's Grand Theft Auto, which has its own style of humor and dark humor, violence. I love all that stuff. There are 3 characters that you can switch between, so you clearly didn't get very far into the game.
No, I did not.
You know, the world is built with such a unique care. It's not like you can follow around every NPC and discover their day job and that they have a home and everything. But yeah, the main characters, they do go out their own daily lives, and you can run into them if you're lucky enough to stumble across them in the open world. It's such a unique game, and it makes me really wish that Rockstar didn't make so much money with Grand Theft Auto Online that they would make a Grand Theft Auto 6.
Mm.
Definitely worth your time, definitely worth your money.
Nick, you've played? Any thoughts?
I have it downloaded. I think it was free at some point, maybe on the Epic Game Store.
Yep.
I actually just uninstalled it, I think, to install Battlefront 2 free game on the Epic Game Store. So I don't know. I really don't have much to add here. It sounds like a good game. Again, another one that the internet community seems to still be grasping on, like just on popularity on Reddit. The people love the GTA Online experience, or I don't know, people are in tune with it. It kind of makes me sad, and I don't know if we'll get to Cyberpunk, but I feel like it's what Cyberpunk could hit. From what you're telling me, Will, like to have such deep interactions and like NPCs that have depth. It sounds like Cyberpunk could have been that, which would have been cool. But I don't know. Maybe someday I'll go and play it. It's kind of a bummer to hear that the multiplayer experience wasn't fun because, like I said it earlier, the Borderlands experience, the fun rooted in the fact that you're playing with your friends, having a good time. I feel like that game would have been a fun experience to have an open world, play with your friends kind of experience. But sounds like a pretty fun single player.
Yeah. Something else that just occurred to me is I think I didn't super enjoy the control schemes of this game. I know I complained about the driving, having just come off of playing a lot of Forza games, but I don't know. Third-person shooters, I think, are kind of hard to get down pat. There's a game I'll probably talk about later that I think does really well, but this one kind of felt so-so, at least for my experience. But all right, so got a couple back-to-back here. I think we can just blow through. Combat Evolved, Halo, Halo 3 ODST, and Halo 4. ODST and 4. Played the campaigns on. Obviously, I don't think ODST has multiplayer per se. That's any different from Halo 3, I guess. And played the campaign on 4. We did that together. It was the two of us and another friend of ours. It was a fun time. I think I was like very pissed at the game by the end of the Halo 4 campaign, though.
You were.
These both get 2s. Combat Evolved, both online and the single player, I think I liked a lot more. The single player, it gets a bit repetitive with some of the missions. Like, it's just go through hallway A and then repeat that 26 times until you get to where the giant floating eyeball's trying to get you to go. But I really liked online for Combat Evolved. The fact that it looks still kind of stupid, like old graphics, and you could update them and they look only marginally better was kind of funny to me as well. But yeah, for a Halo game, these aren't my favorite. Combat Evolved better than Reach. The others, they're okay.
I would, I think I'm going to clump all the Halo games together, or at least 1 through 4 I played this year, and Halo Reach I played the previous year. I would probably give them a 4. I think I had a lot of fun playing all the multiplayer campaigns. I played through all of them with someone else in some cooperative manner or another. I played through Halo 1 with Matt. I think I played through Halo 2 with Matt as well. Mm-hmm. And then you guys and Alex for the rest of them. I always had a great time with all of them. I never got to a point where I was hating either ODST or 4. Just because I don't know, I wasn't taking it as seriously maybe.
Probably had to do with the amount that I was drinking, and I would just get frustrated. The video that you made on 4 was hilarious. Like that's why this is a 2 as opposed to like a 1. Was the experience that we played. Because that was funny. The whole thing where we were like trying to figure out how the hell to get up on that ledge, and we all did it, and then like someone walks 2 feet and like an elevator comes down, and we're like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I had a fun experience playing these games. Definitely suffered from some nostalgia goggles. Like, I thought this game was going to be amazing because in my head as a kid, these games were like the pinnacle, but it's like playing GoldenEye 15 years later. Like, the game doesn't really hold up to it. Flying into the group though is fun, so I'm really glad they had the multiplayer campaign. I think that's what made it fun for me.
It was a nice touch.
The lowest point for me, I think, in those games was Halo 1, the repetitive hallways. I that's where I got a little frustrated. But regarding the multiplayers, I liked all of them, honestly. Like, they're all a little different. You know, Halo 1's more different than the rest, but they all kind of felt the same to me, and I had a great time with all of them. Apparently, I'm like a really good Halo player.
You are. I will.
You've been playing
doesn't
PS
make any
on
sense.
computer.
I will say, I'm not great at Halo games, but damn if we don't make a good Warthog team. You and me, Will. He's the driver.
Yep.
I'm the driver. He's the gunner. And I think like there was several back-to-back games where I'd have like 1 kill and like 37 assists, all from
That's
Will.
what Halo's all about.
Yeah.
It's always fun. I used to be good. I think it was the opposite of you, Will, where I thought I was going to be amazing. I put hundreds of hours into all the Halo games in high school on my Xbox 360 in my parents' basement, just grinding it out. And I'm like, oh my god, here it comes! I'm going to be good. It's on PC, and then I just get dunked on by like everyone who just like I just can't aim apparently in this game. Probably just because I haven't been playing as much FPSs, and it's very hurts my pride. But it's still fun. That's why I think I like campaign more. Just wasn't got to be good at FPSs to play it online. Or rather, I'm not as good of a god at the game I was when I was 13.
Not elite gamer. Didn't carry over.
Apparently not. That's not anymore. I want to go back in time.
Well, if you ever want to practice and get better at the multiplayer, this is a game that I'm basically always down to play multiplayer.
I don't even know if I have it installed.
I'll play this on a Wednesday night, man.
I give it a Wednesday night play out of 10.
Yeah, it would be fun. I think it's fun to just hop on. The games are too big. This could be a different discussion, but my hard drives are full. Let's go on before I start talking.
This one, Hearthstone, going down from a 3 out of 5 to a 2 out of 5, and I think it's going to sit there because it's been replaced. Magic is my new Hearthstone, and I think it's a much better game. I really don't see a reason to go back. What really killed this game, I think, for me, was that in between major expansions, they decided to, and I don't know if they've continued to do this because I just haven't been keeping posted on it, but they decided to introduce like a midway expansion, and it was single player. And I know, Nick, you know I hate Hearthstone single player.
Yeah.
And that was the only way you can get the cards. You had to do it. You basically had to pay $20 if you didn't have the gold saved up, which was a lot of gold.
And like I think to clarify, they've done this before, at least before we played, and like as soon as we started playing, that was kind of how they did it. And then they moved to anyone can craft any card. You just need the dust, which is way more open, accessible, all that good stuff. And you still have to grind the game to make those cards, but it was there. And yeah, I agree. Once they moved to like, you know that there are cards you can't get unless you pay for the expansion, it was super frustrating. I mean, the game was never free to play. Let's be clear. No one has the time to craft every card that you need to play that game.
Unless you're streaming it full time.
I guess, yeah. 8 hours a day is what you need to do. But the game was somewhat fun to be able to put 30 to 30 minutes a day into and still have fun and be competitive if you really tried hard and like thought.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the prospect of spending $15-20 on every expansion to guarantee the cards instead of you being able to unlock them by playing it enough is enough to put me off. They had an auto chess game mode called Battlegrounds, which kept me occupied for all of like 3 or 4 months. It was a really well done game mode. Like you can tell they just stopped caring about the game and really moved towards that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I hop into the subreddit, everyone's like making fun of how no one plays Constructed anymore. It's all
auto chess.
All auto chess, yeah. Like all streamers are streaming auto chess, which
wow.
And it speaks to how people are frustrated with the other game. I honestly feel like they need to split the game off. They need to make 2 separate games, in my opinion. Just make a battle chess game, Blizzard, and then continue making this one.
That might kill Hearthstone.
That's fine. I think that apparently, yeah, I don't know. But to go back to what you said, I've gotten into Magic as well. Maybe it's just newer. I don't know. I think
the interaction, I think, is the big thing. It feels like. Also, Commander as a game mode, being able to play with 4 people at once is very, very appealing. It's fun. And this is, I think, the biggest thing, because I know that you played it a lot longer than I did. I don't get enjoyment of playing random strangers online. Like, I only play this when I was, like, playing against you, or back in the day, Michael, I guess. But, yeah, just the interaction you can have with people. I miss that in the card game, so.
It, for some reason, something in my brain is wired to, like, get enjoyment. I get endorphins for ranking up. I don't care what it is, but I get really excited about ranking up. So in Hearthstone, you can rank up and you can get towards legend, and like it gave me so much enjoyment by getting up that ranking ladder. Climbing the ladder every month was fun for me. So I really didn't mind playing in strangers. It's kind of fun. Also, feels really good to like just dunk on them with your janky ass deck, where it's just like it's not supposed to be good, but you're beating these try hard decks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I didn't mind playing against online people. So that's we definitely played this game very differently then, it sounds like.
Yeah. I just liked Frostlich Jaina and Elemental Mage, and that was my shtick. And when it rotated out, it was just kind of like, oh, nothing's really as fun anymore.
Yeah,
but
those are fun. I will give them. I don't know what I don't think I gave them a 3. It's a good game, I guess, if you're into that. If you want an accessible, competitive, like trading card game on mobile. Because again, talk about how we play differently. I play this game like 80-90% on mobile. I never played on desktop unless we played together.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think I was just scarred by my bad early iPhone experience playing mobile.
Yeah,
to ever try it again.
That makes sense.
All right, another game that we all actually played together, In Silence. I guess want to give it a 2. I would consider it to be a good time waster. This is probably, if anything that I had was going to come close to your minute ranking scale, this is probably one of those games for me, Will. It's good. I think we did this for Halloween, just kind of on a whim. It's a clever concept. The idea that you can either play against a NPC or someone could just be like, I want to be the monster. I want to be the one that terrorizes and stalks everyone. It's an interesting and clever concept. I think it does get a little repetitive. Is probably, as I said, not something you're going to be playing a lot of hours on end. But unfortunately, it probably also loses a little bit of the scariness pretty quickly after you've kind of figured out what the monster is and what it does. It's still pretty good. 2 out of 5.
I would definitely rate this higher than 2 out of 5. But I agree. I think it probably deserves a minute ranking scale. I'd give this a solid 60 on the ranking scale. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time with the single player, or like with the AI monster, until we figured out how it worked. But I think that you could definitely extend this by having people that are creative and more interested in having fun with the monster role as opposed to trying to win with the monster role.
Mm-hmm.
When I tried to win as the monster, I absolutely demolished you guys.
Shut up.
Well, like I had a lot of fun when Ryan was playing as the monster and he was doing like, "You guys coming to my birthday party?
Yeah.
Don't open the presents."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I would love to play In Silence again in the future, but yeah, it's not something that could be played every week.
No, we played it for like 3 or 4 hours on Halloween, and it was. I mean, it got less fun every time we played, but it was fun for a while. I gave it a 4. I think I gave it a 4 just because I had so much fun playing it that day. Would never be inclined to play it again by myself and under the right settings. I'd for sure play it again, but it seems like a demo. Honestly, like it seems kind of like a demo of a game.
Mm-hmm.
It could probably be brought into a full game.
Add some maps, maybe a different monster with a different ability.
Oh yeah, see that would make it be more fun to play. But it's a great concept. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of fun.
Next up, Jackbox Party Pack 6. I think this one was on my list, if not last year, 2 years ago. Probably last year, based off of how recent. I'm going to keep this one at a 3 out of 5. I got a lot of playtime out of it, especially early on in quarantine. This doesn't have necessarily my favorite host of games, but I really like people freaking out over the basically werewolf equivalent. I think it's called Push the Button, where you're trying to figure out where the aliens are on the ship, based on like how people answer certain questions, things like that. Joke
Sounds
Boat.
like Among Us.
Yeah, I mean it does. Joke Boat's always pretty fun. What other games are on here? Now I'm trying to remember.
Yeah,
Uh,
honestly, when you put Jackbox Party, I was just like, the games meld so much in my mind. I never just played through a full pack. They
Oh
just
yeah, no.
Trivia Murder
Yeah.
Party. That one is. Some people really like that, and it feels a little bit too Mario Party. Like I guess you don't play this one to win because honestly, it swings so hard, especially at the end, like where someone that died instantly can just come back
yeah.
and kind of steal it. Dictionarium is the other one I was thinking of. There was a lot of laughing when I've been playing Dictionarium just because of the stupid stuff that people come up with, and it's usually kind of pee pee poo poo humor. But at the same time, if you're drunk, that doesn't matter. It's still funny. I'm now that I'm thinking about it a bit more, maybe like in terms of a Jackbox game, this one probably falls a little lower, so it's probably a low 3. But it's still fun. Again, given the climate this year, I got a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Moving on then. Mario Maker 2. This is a tentative rating because I honestly want to give this one more time. I have not played it enough. I think this could be a 4. Where it's at right now is probably between a 3 and a 4. I put a number of hours into making a level that I still haven't really finished. Maybe means it's a little too involved. I don't think I'm ever going to get to the point where I can make my own world. But now that Rubber Ross has kind of finished his world, I was watching him as he was creating that. I'm really excited to play it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Played it a couple times with you, Nick, I know, and that was pretty fun.
That was amazing. Yeah.
Just discovering this host of some levels that are actually kind of fun, and then others that are just complete shit shows, and like it's clearly made by a 5-year-old, but they're hilarious.
Oh my god, it was beautiful. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5, which might be one of the highest ratings of this. It was, and again, I probably only played it like probably 7 hours, 7 or 8 hours, but I don't know. It's pretty good. It seems pretty polished for a game that's based around everyone making their own games.
Mm-hmm.
I found some pretty fun levels. And yeah, just us two playing together was like just discovering level after level and trying to see who could finish it first is a great idea.
And it's the few things that they did add from the first game were such game changers. They really did think of like really good ideas. Like the on-off switches are probably the most prevalent in my mind because that just adds so many different layers. I'm not a really big fan of the 3D world game mode. I don't know that one translates as well, but everything they've added in the other 4 styles I think work pretty damn well.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So that's probably going to come back for me. At least this year.
Yeah.
I'll make a point to play it again.
It goes in the category of a game where I could like pick up and play for a short amount of time and have a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone with like a short attention span like I do, especially when it comes to certain games, and just like I like to rather play games in those short amount of time. I think that's why I rated it so high. Is that it just has a lot of potential for me.
Next up, another game that I set aside for a bit, and then just kind of how the end of my year played out, I didn't have enough of a chance to get back to it. Also, I got sidetracked by a game on the top 10, but we'll get to that later. Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. I really like a lot of what this game does. It's very approachable in terms of how you want to go about doing your missions. This is a third-person shooter that I think it does very well, and half the time you can end up like scoping down if you've got like a rifle that's got that type of attachment or whatever. But the different approaches of like sneaking in, the game actually I think maybe pushes you a little bit too hard. If you care about rankings, you basically need to not kill anyone ever and just be a perfect ninja, which is a little weird. Obviously, just play it the way you want to play it, but I am kind of bothered when a game is that open and then gives you like, oh, you shot 3 people. That's a C rank. And I'm like, all right. Couple of, I think like probably 10 hours into it at least. Let's see, MGS 5. Yeah, just under 10. I think I just hit one mission where I was a little bit frustrated with how things played out because I wanted to do it a certain way, and I kind of got hard punished for not being snappier. I was taking a very methodical approach, and they were just like, nope, if you didn't immediately start doing this and I don't know, it wasn't super clear, you kind of just lost. Which is not to say that you can't have, more kind of railroady style missions in there, but considering how many options there are in this game, like being able to fucking rocket punch people with your metal fist, it just kind of felt a little bit bad. But I'm definitely going to come back to this one. Right now I have it sitting at a 3. I think it could probably easily get to a 4, if not a 5, once I finish it. Definitely looking forward to see what else the game throws at you. Just had to take a little bit of a break from it, that's all. Well, I know that you've played through this completely.
Yes, I have played through this completely. I had a lot of fun with it. I remember playing this my senior year of college. This was like the one game I played senior year because I was really concerned with graduating so I could get my job.
It's important.
This probably, I think this gets a 4 from me. I thought this was an excellent game. It delivered on everything that I thought a Metal Gear Solid game would deliver on, and then some. I'm kind of surprised to hear that you were surprised that killing people had negative consequences in the gameplay loop.
Yeah, that I've never played a Metal Gear game before. I know that it is about stealth, and I think the thing that's a little weird is it's less about like you can get spotted and still get out of the mission just fine. I think I was more expecting like if you get spotted, that was it. Where less about like, I don't know. I'm probably not doing a very good job of explaining this, but I was kind of expecting it to be like, oh, they see you, game over, or retry from last checkpoint type thing. Whereas this is more like, no, we'll let you make those decisions, but if you're going to be lethal with it, that gets you less points. That did kind of surprise me, because, I mean, I don't know, they're bad guys, right?
I haven't played a whole lot of Metal Gear Solid games. In fact, I think this is really the only one that I've played all the way through. But it seemed clear to me that these games have a very strong anti-war theme across all of them. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't surprised at all that the game punished you for using lethal force, especially when there are non-lethal ways around that. And like a lot of the bad guys are depicted not as purely evil, but just dudes with jobs. So I tried to avoid using lethal options anyways. I always felt that the stealth option was more fun. Mm-hmm. Not to say that I did a total pacifist playthrough, but I thought it would be very thematically confusing if the game didn't punish you for using lethal options, given what I know about the Solid Snake and the history of these games and the messages that they try to tell.
Yeah, I had no inclination of the story. This one's buck wild, by the way. Really weird.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I expected a crazy nonsense sci-fi storyline. It kind of delivered.
Yeah, you get like attacked. I don't think this is too spoilery to say because it happens pretty quickly. You get like attacked by a giant flaming devil demon man, and you have to like run away from him. And then the little girl shows up and also attacks. And I was just like, I don't know what's going on. But now she's like riding on this flaming horse of doom. And I thought this was like a war game. So, but as Dunkey said, I think the story is not the focus. It's more about the kind of gameplay that really sells it. So I'm definitely willing to give it another chance for sure. Somewhere down the line. Nick, have you played much of this? Ever dabbled into Metal Gear games?
I think I've seen clips online of people putting balloons on enemies and seeing them fly away. It made me laugh. I think that's this game.
Yep, that's a thing you can do.
Yeah, no, I haven't played it though. Looks like a fun one though.
All right. I'm going to try and maybe pick up the pace a little bit so we can get through these other games already. A little over an hour here, but Generations Ultimate, Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, getting an honorable mention. Again, I think this is a game that would probably just always be at the top. Mostly just because I got Nick to play through.
5 out of 5. Perfect game.
Really?
No more to say. I gave it a 5. Yeah.
Damn, dude. All right.
I don't think I could put as many hundreds of hours as you did. But for me, putting anywhere close to 100 hours is a big feat. This one did it very well for me.
Hoping that before Rise comes out, we can maybe finish G rank. We'll see.
That's right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Possibly. What, we got till March?
Yeah. If I need to carry you, like, through some hunts just so you can... I just want you to more or less see some of the cool end game fights.
Yeah, for sure.
But, you know, we get to it, we get to it.
Yep. It was good. I mean, I guess a complaint I'd have, and this is probably a result of just like having someone who's so adept at the game, is that I never really felt challenged besides like the one or two times you're like, oh, you want to try challenge? Here's a challenge. I don't know. I never really lost, never really carded that much, but it's probably, again, just because the way we were playing. Sure, it's not really fun for you to cart, watch me cart over and over again.
I mean, I was definitely dialing down on gear and stuff and trying out some new stuff. I think maybe you're not giving yourself enough credit, but we were still very much at the start of G rank. The stuff definitely ramps once you hit G3. You get some crazy quests. If we were doing those with just two people, I think there's definitely a lot of challenge. And then there's stuff that I still really haven't even beaten. Some of the final EX monsters, which are just these super powerful variants, which is something that World could have desperately used, honestly. But yeah, I wouldn't say, well, if you're not feeling challenged, like I can get that, but I think you're also you were just doing very well.
I think I was. No, you're right. I got in the swing of the weapons I was playing and the styles, the hunter arts I was doing. And you know, once there's a pattern, I love I love just optimizing it to a T, which is pretty fun. Yeah, I mean, honestly, just got really excited for Reach. Very excited for
Monster Hunter Reach.
Monster Hunter Reach, not Halo Reach.
It's Rise, but yes.
Oh god. Whatever.
Halo on the brain.
Year one.
All right. Next up, Minecraft, the game that always comes and goes, a few months at a time. I liked, going back to the vanilla on Alex's server was kind of a nice change of pace. Not gonna lie. I mean, we only really played it for like I think a couple of weeks, and I know Will, you maybe logged on a couple more times after that. But yeah, it's Minecraft. I don't know. There's some new stuff in there in the Nether that's kind of cool. This is a 2 for me. It's just always kind of been that way. I really need a strong pull to kind of come back to this. And usually it's just that you guys are playing it at some point. I think I'd probably maybe be on a little bit more if I could just kind of go into creative and build shit. I really like the building aspect. I'm not really more about the craft survival part of it as much. It's not my shtick.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I always enjoy it. It's a fun time. I enjoy the craft and survival part. But like I said, it's Minecraft. I've kind of done it quite a bit. I applaud the developers for basically making a whole new game every update. It sounds like the game changes so much year to year that like they could have easily stopped changing it and still make money off people buying it, but they keep updating it like crazy. I've never known a game like this. It's very unique in my mind.
Very
accessible. I don't know what to say. It's Minecraft, I feel like I can't give it a 1 to 5 rating or even a minute rating.
Yeah, same.
It's Minecraft.
It's a way of life almost. It's an experience.
The lifestyle.
Another game that we've all played. Mount Your Friends. I'd put my entertainment value on par with Minecraft. I'm gonna give this one a 2 out of 5. It's very funny. The fact that you can have this basically gymnastic stacking competition, trying to get higher and higher on a increasingly tall mountain of bodies in various ways, with the controls of like QWOP. It's a humorous experience, especially when you can edit the way that your characters look by uploading JPEGs of anime girl faces, Kronk from the Emperor's New Groove, Pasta Man, Tomato Man. It's pretty funny.
Yep.
That's
this gets a solid 50 minutes out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Out an hour. I wish that the game could distribute the files, the custom files itself, as
Oh,
opposed to
just like
having to like have some sort of Google Drive, or the best option is like Git. Get everyone on a Git server and pull down the latest changes.
Hmm.
yeah.
Um, so that's just cumbersome and annoying. But man, a lot of fun. Great fun for people, for as few as like 4 people. Yeah, even 2 or 3 people could have a lot of fun with this. But wouldn't play it all night. So 50 minutes. That's pretty up there for my minute ranking games.
It's kind of surprising. Yeah, I'd put it up there as well too for me. I only played it for about a half an hour with you because you already played it before me. But it kind of goes in the same category, and this might be a strange analogy, but in my head, it kind of goes like in the same category as Rocket League, in the sense that anyone could just pick it up and do something. But like, I kind of sense that the skill cap is kind of high, and like I YouTube like I looked up videos of people playing it like competitively,
Hmm.
and apparently there's a scene of it being played competitively, which kind of makes me very happy that this hilarious game can be like metagamed. I don't know.
Wow.
Seems kind of funny. I mean, because like anytime you get a game where there's like the physics are there, even though it's a hilarious game, like the physics are there, you could theoretically do a lot of fun stuff. Get really good at cartwheeling up the mountain or something, slingshotting.
I completely forgot to make supplementary awards this year, but this one probably gets the large bulge award.
Mm-hmm. Easily.
Potentially not safe for work for those unaware.
No.
Next one should be really quick. Magic the Gathering Arena. Basically just a inferior, in my opinion, way to play Magic the Gathering, but I recognize that it's a good way to. If that's your thing, you like playing online. I think it's well supported. I think maybe adding commander. The commander's not on there, right, Nick? I don't think
Brawl is
Brawl
the
is?
standard commander.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, I would rather play paper Magic. So I gave this one. This is probably the only one I would say I gave an objective rating. I would consider this a 3 or a 4. I didn't really settle.
Yeah.
But I have no reason to play this. I'm going to just stick to kind of playing paper Magic personally.
It serves a purpose though, and that's that like when you go to Magic or Wizards of the Coast website and you try to learn how to play Magic the Gathering, they don't really have documentation of anymore. They just tell you like download this game and play it. It really does the best way to teach the game. And it answered so many questions playing the game for me that every time I play paper now, I think back to like what it looks like in Arena,
Hmm.
because it's just like there's a lot of rules to Magic, and like this game walks you through like slowly what the turn stack is and what priority is and when to do stuff. So I don't know. That part was really useful for me. It's a gotcha game at the end of the day, though, just like Hearthstone and any other gotcha game where
Yeah.
like Magic Paper.
Well, I mean, at least on
money back.
paper, there's a return. There is a potential return.
Yes, and like unlike Paper, and this is the biggest complaint I have for the game, you can't buy singles. I mean, you can buy you can buy currency in game to craft singles, I guess.
Yeah.
But not even that. I don't know how it works, but apparently there are other Magic the Gathering games that people have made, not by Wizards of the Coast, that are much more like. Of course, they don't need to make money, so you can just make decks for fun and play against your friends with those. I'd be curious to explore those if we ever wanted to play an online Magic again. But
Hmm.
this one's polished. It's just, yeah, doesn't compare with playing in paper. If this game can't survive and thrive in an all online and like distanced world, I don't see myself playing it much once we can play at my local game store again.
I'd be curious to see what the difference is in player base between Magic Online, which is different because you can buy those cards individually. I think on that it's like kind of its own
Yes.
collection,
Yep.
and resell them even.
Yes.
Versus Magic the Gathering Arena, which is probably a little bit more accessible, if not only because I think all the tryhards are on online, but
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
anyway. This is my honorable mention. Was on the list for a bit. Swapped it out. Ori and the Blind Forest. This game, it starts a bit slow. It's really a platformer. I've seen it described as a Metroidvania, and in the sense you get items that help you progress into further areas and explore new areas, and it has like kind of a sprawling map. I get. The combat though is really not my cup of tea. It's not well polished. Enemies take like way too many hits to kill. There are really no boss fights in this. So that's definitely, I think, some of its shortcomings. And it's especially very prevalent when you're starting out in the game. However, once you get some of the movement abilities, this game is amazing. Being able to fling yourself across the map, double jumps with dashes, and ricochet yourself off of other enemies feels so nice. And in the place of, not to spoil too much for those interested, but in the place of traditional bosses, you have these very drastic, crazy, hectic kind of platforming challenges, which are just such a thrill and definitely the highlight of the game. The story it's pretty good. It's got one of those up style beginnings where it's kind of sad. It starts off on a rather dour note, but kind of improves from there. The music and the visuals are definitely what was kicking this higher up on my ranking initially because they're just godlike. The music is fantastic. Like, I would listen to this stuff on repeat while I was playing it. Really good at helping the immersion, and the environments are just very beautifully colored. Probably one downside of that is that sometimes it is just genuinely difficult to tell what was in the foreground and background. Like, that's how good it was. Which you don't necessarily want for a platformer with spikes and stuff. But, yeah. Very cool game. Had a fantastic sequel, which I'll get to later. But I'm glad I played this. If not only just because of the amazing visuals and music, and again, the end game platforming was very fun. I know I probably complained about this game a lot at one point.
I've only heard you complain about it. So
yeah.
To hear you say it was almost made your top 10.
It's
I'm willing to play it.
It's definitely just like in the moment I was kind of getting frustrated, especially with the save system. It's you have to put down your own save points, and I think the game kind of almost punishes you sometimes if you're too liberal with that. There's a couple of cheap one-shots, basically just like blocks that will fall at very rapid rates from the ceiling. Those always piss me off as obstacles because they're well hidden. Mm-hmm. So I'd just be like, okay, well, it's an instant kill. That's fun. But yeah.
It came free with my Xbox when I bought my Xbox like 20 years ago, or my Xbox One. So I have it.
I think you would like it because you're about platformers, yeah.
I am, yes, and I think that Soul. Wow, I always want to call it Shovel Knight, but Soul Knight.
Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight. Thank you.
There you go.
I think Hollow Knight was just too much for me. Like it was hard for me, and I don't know. Would you consider Ori a little bit easier to barrier to entry?
Yes, definitely. Okay. Hollow Knight's difficulty, I think, definitely stems from its combat anyway. Mm-hmm. Some of the bosses get pretty crazy towards endgame. Yeah. There are some platforming challenges in Hollow Knight, but it's definitely not the focus. That's more
it's true.
of a Metroidvania to me. This was more of like a Metroidvania-influenced platformer.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to play. Celeste. I mean, I just thought of another platform I played. Celeste was one I played on Switch. That was amazing. Mm-hmm. I think I'd like Ori. Give it a shot.
Overwatch. A game that I'm now convinced probably should never really stray too far from a 5 out of 5. I don't know why that game is so much fun, but it is. I really like it a lot.
5 out of 5 in my book.
It's been I think the fact that they're kind of working on 2 has been nice. I'm appreciative of the fact that they aren't adding any more heroes for the time being. Especially since while the last couple have kind of been unique, it's the fact that there's not like I have to reacquaint myself with a totally new move set to play against every time has kind of been nice, especially because I think it's already got a lot of characters in that game.
A lot of characters. Yeah.
So I love playing. Ashe is my favorite. Deep's probably right there with Pharah, and then I'm a tried and true Mercy main, and those characters are still just super fun to play all the time.
Yeah, I put it as a 5 for sure. It's my favorite game to hop to right now. Like I can see myself playing tank and support are the 2 other roles besides DPS, and I always find myself having just as much fun as tank and support as DPS. Maybe it's just because I suck at aiming, mm-hmm. but it's fun to play those 2 roles. I don't know. Feel like you're doing something for the team.
Mm-hmm.
There's a variety of each of those. I mean, I personally think there could be a few more, just considering there's twice as many DPS as each of those roles, but there's plenty of roles to choose from, different characters.
Yeah, I'd say I would give this a 5. You know, maybe a little closer to 4 than you guys, but I'm still having fun with this game. Played it as recently as Friday night, with another guy, and just had a blast. Got into a big dick measuring contest with the number of medals that we were getting.
The hero or their forge, their Halo Forge or whatever they're calling it, their game making thing also has been kind of impressive with some of the shit that you can do. People were making like Smash Bros and that, which is just nuts to me.
Yeah, that blows my mind. Like, something they didn't need to do. So like they did not need to do that at all. They
Nope.
could have spent 100% of their hours focusing on the game. But they did this.
Instead,
and,
they
like,
created a Turing complete
yes,
programming.
I don't get it. Again, apparently Blizzard just has that much money. But it's pretty cool.
And I feel like it's pretty. I don't know if it's just we're finally getting to a point where it does feel coming down more to scales, but I feel like where the characters are at balance wise is pretty good right now.
Yes, I agree. There's never a time when you're like, oh god, they got X hero, we're done. Like this is obviously yeah. There's counters. There's meta.
The only thing that maybe was a bit shaky was what they did with Bastion recently, with making his turret fire more accurate, but still, on the whole, very good. Good job, Blizzard.
Yep.
Give me 2 so I can play story mode. Pummel Party. The Mario Party clone that's far better than Mario Party will ever be.
Oh yeah.
Thing is, this is like either a very high 2 or a very low 3. It's very goofy. The mini games, most of which are actually pretty solid, or kind of diverse, and the interaction that you get on the board is pretty fun. The one thing I don't like, and I think this came up when we were playing on New Year's Eve, was it seems silly that they give items to people in the lead instead of the people at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. This gets 50 minutes, or maybe 60. I can't remember what the minute ranking is anymore for the other games I gave it, but this can be fun for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I guess I could sit down and play this for a couple hours. Yeah, the mini games are fun. It's not the kind of game that you're gonna have a good time if you're taken seriously. So I care a little less that the game gives items to the people in the lead. But it helps that I've always kind of been in the lead anyways, because I'm good at the mini games.
This is just turning into Will's humble brag session.
Yeah, apparently he's really good at all
Just
these
really good
games.
at Halo and Pummel Party and Golf with your friends and
It
everything.
doesn't bother me that there's problems with the games, you know.
Yeah, just get good, scrub.
When you're the best at the game, it doesn't matter. I don't know. I like this game. It's fun. Better Mario Party. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's fun.
All right, kicking it back off again. Rainbow Six, Tom Clancy's Fancy Dancy, aka Siege.
I don't think any of us has played this one. We can just skip
I
it.
could probably just skip this one. I mean, what kind of game is this anyway? This is another
10
game.
out of 10.
I mean, I would say that this is another game that I don't think I would stray from a 5 out of 5. I didn't particularly enjoy playing it as much this year. I didn't. It seemed weird to me, especially because they had the operator bundle, and we got like half the operators, which is good. I actually think that's a good thing. I think this game also needs to slow down on how many characters they're adding. But at the same time, I'm kind of pissed that I paid money, and I know that it was slightly less, but we also got a lot less in terms of number of operators. So, I always go, I feel like, through mood swings with this game. I'll like have times where I really enjoy playing it a lot, and then sometimes I'll just be burnt out and I'll have to take a break, which isn't, it's fine. I mean, that happens, I think, with any multiplayer game from time to time. Overwatch, I take a break on every once in a while too. But just between the two, like, I guess to kind of clarify this, why Overwatch is a 5 out of 5 and Siege I would still consider to be a 5 out of 5. but they're not on the top 10 is just, I don't think there was necessarily anything particularly crazy or cool that happened this year that really wanted me to continue. I think 2019 was a good siege year. There was a lot of those tournaments kind of going on, a lot of goofy gameplay and shenanigans and stuff like that. This game it just kind of slowed down a little this year. That's all. It's always still fun to play. I just I think I enjoy playing in groups more because Will especially will know this. I don't know if you know this, Nick. I am very bad if I haven't had like at least a beer. I get very jittery and nervous. So I need to have like something to kind of calm me down, or I will just start killing people on my team because I think they're an enemy. That's happened a lot.
Yeah, this game has induced more stress than I'm willing to admit. But
Yeah.
I'd put it up there as well. I mean, you go with both sides of perfect score. I'd also put this as a perfect score game too. It's fun. I always have a good time playing it.
Definitely hard to get into, I think, but I did my time, and I'm starting to get there. The problem is that everyone else I play with is constantly playing this, so I'm probably never going to catch up.
And I think that's the crux of it for me too, is that I don't know the game as well. I don't know the maps as well. If I knew the maps better, I'd enjoy the game better. But in order to know the maps, you got to play the game more.
Mm-hmm.
It's a catch-22 there.
Yeah.
Slight complaint that I sometimes see operators that look fun that I know I'll never be able to play unless I give them money. And I don't like that. I mean, that's why I think Overwatch will always be I'd more willing to play that one first.
Sure.
It's just because you can just see someone you want to play, you play it. But I mean, to the defense, you both have said it. It's not like the operators are different, but not that different. Like it's not like Overwatch where you get one character who flies and shoots sound beams and another one who shoots a AR. Like
Yeah.
they're different, especially at the level that I'm playing at, which is not competitive at all. We're just trying to have fun.
Yeah, and while they're still technically adding a lot of people, like you were saying, some do cover similar functionality, albeit just like with different weapon loadouts or gadgets.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
There was I tried to get us to play like with us three and then maybe like Alex
Mm-hmm.
A couple of times this year, just because I felt like that always turned out really well.
Mm-hmm.
And having a larger fraction of the people that are not me lowers the elo, so I think you guys have a better chance. Humble brag number 4.
That's not really home brag. That's just saying like you played the game enough.
Did we ever determine though if the Smurf account actually ended up getting us with better, or was it your normal account? Because it feels like the normal account did better, and then your Smurf account, like they just kicked the shit up out of your ELO immediately, and we were playing against like harder people.
I don't know, man. I still think the Smurf account we play with more shitters, but I don't know. I feel like with the Smurf account, you sometimes get down to those low elos where there's a bunch of other people that are Smurfs, making their way up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's been kind of a crapshoot, but if I had to pick one or the other, I would pick the Smurf account.
I mean, one of those accounts is kind of getting emails from Ubisoft saying, "Hey, nice super duper positive KDs you got there."
I don't know why my other email account isn't getting those emails.
Because they're trying to hook you in. They know that you've only bought 2 operators and one of them was Blitz. Next, Scribble.io or Scriblio, however you want to say that. Another game that probably got a lot of play just because it was 2020, year of the quarantine. I give it's probably like a 2. It's Pictionary, basically. The one standout feature I'd say is that you can add in your own words, which I think we did once or twice. We had like a D&D themed one. I think we did that. Mm-hmm. And every 3-letter word was instantly our antagonist. It's always Lynn!
Or 5-letter words you just spelled differently. Yeah, I think the reason why I wouldn't say this one's as fun as, for example, Drawful is that just the mobile experience is terrible. And it's hard to like.
True.
This game is different than Drawful. Drawful is not a Pictionary game. Drawful is like everyone take their time and just like guess. So it's hard to do Pictionary on mobile, which is fair. Mm-hmm. But I see this game as in the category of games that you'd play alongside Jackbox games. So that's the only reason I'm like, don't know if I'd give it that high, but it's fun. It does well. And the fact that we can hop in a game, create a game, and just hit go in like less than 10 seconds is really impressive.
Yep.
Yeah, 30 minutes.
Fair enough. Next up, this was another one I was struggling with, and unfortunately I think it was because the last time we played it. Sea of Thieves. I like it, but you can just have a bad time in this and it kind of ruins the experience. The whole piracy thing, I think, makes it unique. I don't necessarily think they should ever change that. The fact that you need to either interact with people, and sometimes you'll have a good time doing that, playing sea shanties and yelling at each other from across ships, and maybe sneak on someone's vessel and they can adopt you as their fifth crewmate. Other times you're literally going to try to do one thing and literally a Kraken and three other player characters will come down and kick the shit out of you.
This game could be massively improved if they had some sort of like aggression ranking system and matched more aggressive players with other more aggressive players.
Right. People that are just trying to do the things that they're supposed to do on the missions versus people that are out there just to, screw with other players.
Mm-hmm.
That would be amazing if they could do that. Because I agree, Zach. We were having fun doing our mission. We're like, wow, like this. We got to one mission. We're like, just gonna do this huge thing, get a ton of gold as a payoff, and now trick out our ship.
Yeah, I'm still not sure we should have done that one.
We did. That was terrible.
30
terrible
plus
decision,
minutes of loading cargo just to get immediately annihilated.
Yeah, but like, I remember going on that. Like, there's some missions that were fun. Going on this mission, like there was a scavenger hunt type of mission where you had to solve some puzzle. I guess we didn't really solve that one, but it's a cool concept. I think you said it right, Will, when that it could be improved a lot. Seems also kind of like a beta type game. Like it doesn't seem like it's finished yet.
I think the combat could be improved too. I'm not saying it has to have like siege levels of shooting, but the fact that I can't aim a pistol up while trying to board someone and they can just instantly pop me, it doesn't really feel fun. I guess that just incentivizes stealth. But when you're in ship-to-ship combat, that's already kind of hard to do. So,
I felt like I don't like that the way that we got attacked that one time, where a ship did kind of a drive-by, like they stayed way out of range, and some guys just swam underwater all the way to our ship and climbed up, and while the other ship, like that's not very fun. If there's gonna be a ship-to-ship battle, it should be or if there's gonna be PvP, it should be ship versus ship.
Yeah. Kind of the coward's way out of just getting a bomb, sneaking it on the ship, and blowing it up.
Yeah, pretty lame.
So that one I think it's, I don't know. Again, like I have had fun with it, and I think it's unique. I'm gonna stick by giving this a 3. But I would love to see maybe some improvements to it before I'd really consider playing it again. Or if we just finally get to a point where like, yeah, we could all load up and try it. If you could do, and I know that why they would never do this, but if you could do smaller crews, just like 4 people on 2 of the small ships instead of all having to be a galleon, because piloting a galleon is such a pain in the ass.
I thought that was part of the fun, though, to be honest. Like, I never really thought galleons were that pain in the ass to pilot, because that seems to be half the game. Like, half the game is trying to drive a ship.
I don't know.
Like, it takes away from the experience of getting to your destination and like having fun from point A to point B. But like otherwise, if it was on a small ship and it was like one person had to do the work, I feel like the other 3 people would be pretty bored during the.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You get 2 small ships. You don't get 1 small ship.
I guess I can see where that'd be fun too.
Yeah. Because apparently we played it drunk one night. Battlefront 2, the old Star Wars Battlefront 2.
The old one?
I'm making a note of this just so Will doesn't say I didn't. And apparently I thought it was bad and didn't hold up at all.
Well, you hated it, dude. You were so mad at it. I have never heard someone say so many mean things about Gamorrean guards in my life.
Fond memories. I have to be honest. I like the original Star Wars Battlefront compared to 2 anyway. I didn't really like the unlock system for the characters, and the way that they had like the weird auto lock. Maybe that was just a console thing, but I think the original was better. But yeah, probably Probably a 2, just because I don't. No, we'll say it's a 1. There's really no reason to ever kind of come back to that.
20 minutes. It's like it's an old game that did not age well.
Yeah.
It's not something that I'd sit down for a night and play. It's something I'd sit down with after a couple shots, and then immediately transit to a different game.
I think it would suffer from nostalgia goggles. I have fond memories of playing it on my friend's PS2 in the basement at like really late in the night with drinking sodas, but don't think it would be fun now.
And then last of my other list, Tabletop Simulator. I give it a 2 for ingenuity. I don't know that I've really ever played anything on here that I enjoyed. I cannot believe that some people play D&D on this. There must be some serious control integrations that I have not seen, because playing Uno seemed tedious. It's a cool idea. It's a clever concept. I think its use is best as why I probably bought it. I think someone wanted to just do like card-based drinking games online, and it was a fun little kick for that. And then I think we logged on to do a puzzle or play Uno like 2 other times, and that's about it. So a very generous kind of 2, I would say, for me on this one.
I never tried it, but it sounds like it could. It sounds more exciting than it probably is. Like, I've missed playing tabletop games since the pandemic. Like, Lexi and I have accumulated game after game after game. It would be fun to play with people online, but it just seems like it's a hard thing to get done right.
Yeah, this one is definitely like more about the experience of the people you're playing with, and while I had fun playing it, even then, I think that it's just like you guys could be doing anything. You could just be like on Reddit, or it's just filler for your hands almost, so that they're actively doing something. So
Yeah.
better things you could probably do with your time.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I would give this a 30-minute rating, not because I think it's better or than other games that I've ranked with lower minute ratings, or that I think it's as good as like Quiplash, but it's just like that's the amount of time that I would spend on it.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, Will, would you like to cover your ones that have not come up yet, or would you prefer I just get into the nitty gritty of the top 10 first?
I'll cover some games that I know or I suspect will not be on your top 10.
All right, go ahead.
Let's see here. Star Wars Squadrons. I have a long history with flight simulators that I used to take very seriously. Star Wars Squadrons is a flight simulator that's a little more arcadey, a lot more arcadey. If you ever played old X-Wing versus TIE Fighter,
Mm-hmm.
which is a really old game, this is the perfect modern day equivalent. It's not something. It's something you can play without any elaborate head tracking setup. It's not something that I would play without a head tracking setup, but that might just be me. My head tracking thing, the head tracking setup is real janky. It's a real do-it-yourself process, and I'm so angry that they didn't add native head tracking to this game. It would have been really easy. The workaround is like this weird VR workaround where you just have your regular monitor as like the VR headset. It's nonsense. And it's not something I'm going to go back to until they implement native head tracking. Still giving it a 4. It's a very high quality game. Also played a Deus Ex game, not Deus Ex Human Revolution, but the sequel to it. Can't even remember what the game was called.
Not very memorable.
No, I gave it a 3. I would give Deus Ex Human Revolution a 4. Maybe even a 5. But it was just more of the modern Deus Ex. So it delivered on what it promised. And I still had a really good time with it, so it still gets a recommendation from me. If you like Deus Ex games, it's the next Deus Ex game.
Mm-hmm.
Insurgency Sandstorm is on the list. I gave it a 3. Apparently, a lot of people play the PvE modes, which I found to get very boring after a while. It's got a couple PvP modes. It's got one that's like Call of Duty-esque that I had a lot of fun with, and it's not something I would play for an entire night, but it's definitely worth playing if you want to get your adrenaline up. And then they have a more traditional, classic insurgency game mode that's more serious and higher stakes, and I had a lot of fun with that. If I play this ever again with people, they're probably gonna default to the PvE modes, but I'm gonna say you guys, you gotta do the PvP modes. um, should I talk about Beat Saber?
Please do.
Beat Saber's getting a 5. This is a game that I've owned for a long time, but it just the sheer logistics of having the VR rig ready to go has been frustrating, or is cumbersome.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up finally setting it up in my apartment here after a year and a half of living in this apartment, because I wanted something to get exercise without going to my aerosol death trap gym downstairs. Or venturing out into the freezing cold.
The real
so I put on a 20-pound weighted vest when I play this thing. I tell my Google Fit heart rate monitoring watch that I'm dancing, and then I'll play this thing. I've played it for like 45 minutes, up close to an hour before taking it off. It's always drenched in sweat. It's a good workout, and I play exclusively custom songs. And I love that you can do custom songs. This game would be worthless without custom songs. I've never played the single player campaign. I've been like, every time I put this thing on, I feel like I'm getting a little bit better. If you get a real good sense of accomplishment when you finally beat that song that you've trying to beat for like a month.
Mm-hmm.
And man, a lot of anime songs available for Beat Saber. It's like a whole thing.
I believe it. I would argue that this game alone would be the only reason I'd want a VR headset right now.
Yep.
This game alone is like what's driving me to wanting a VR headset. I was obsessed with Dance Dance Revolution. I bought the mats and played it at home as a kid. I was obsessed with Guitar Hero. I even bought DJ Hero and played that for all games that came out for DJ Hero. I'm a music-based game like fanatic, and I love this game every time I play it. But I just don't want to invest that much money in, like you said, Will. It's like not only just the game itself and the hardware, but also the whole space that required to set it up in. It's just a big commitment.
Quote me
Yep.
last year as Beat Saber got third in top 10, 5 out of 5 ranking, with roughly maybe 1 to 2 hours of play, mind you. This has got to be the craziest fucking game I have ever played, and I fucking love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts. It's a really good rhythm. It's not my favorite rhythm game because Rhythm Heaven, but it's a very, very good one, and I am definitely in that same ballpark. I would consider getting a headset for this.
Yep. If they, I don't know who care. I don't care who is it, if it's HTC with the Vive or Facebook with the Oculus. If they make a standalone headset, doesn't require cables. You can basically set up the little lighthouses in any corner, just like without having to keep them there all the time. If they can make that, sell it for like $500, I think that would be enough for me to get a headset, and that could play this game fluidly.
Or just get a friend that's got it that lives close.
That's a nice alternative.
Buy them lots of alcohol or whatever they want, so you can worm your way into their house and be like, I just wanted to play Beat Saber, but I love you too.
Yeah, it's a good game.
The Facebook headset is wireless.
But can it run the Oculus Go? Can it run Beat Saber? I'm assuming
Oculus
it can.
Quest? Yeah. That's what Alex is doing for his travels.
Interesting. I'll have to do some research. It sounds promising.
Anything
next-
else on your list?
I got 3 more games. Far Cry 5 is on the game list. It's a 3 recommendation plus. If you like Far Cry games, it's a Far Cry game. You know, they have their own unique style of game that's that's very formulaic. Every Far Cry game since Far Cry 3 kind of plays the same, so you're gonna get a Far Cry game. Far Cry 5 is it's the Oregon one, the cult, little a little politically topical. 3 out of 5. You get a Far Cry game. Next up, 5 out of 5. Doom Eternal, loved it. Came out early this year. Built a computer to play this game last year, or that was one of the games that I built this computer for, and then it got delayed, and then came out 5 out of 5. Then they've recently come out with the first DLC, and that was also 5 out of 5. The DLC is exactly the game that a person who played Doom Eternal and then wanted more would want to buy. Like, they are so perfectly in tune with their game audience. The guys making this game. You ever watch an interview of Marty, you just know that these guys get it. And the DLC for Doom Eternal was super challenging. It was more Doom. Loved it. 5 out of 5.
Soundtrack's amazing.
Soundtrack is amazing. I still listen to it. It hypes me up.
Yeah, man.
Then the last game on the list, Cyberpunk. You knew it was coming?
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you think I'm going to give it?
I'm gonna. Can I? I think I know what I was gonna say here.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5, or maybe a 4 out of 5, saying that in 365 days from now, when the developers intended to release it, it's gonna be a 5 out of 5.
I'm thinking 4.
Yep, you guys got it. It's a 4.
Yeah.
It's honestly, I could have given it a 5 today if it didn't have the bugs. But in a year, after a couple DLCs, in 2 years after some big DLCs, it's going to be an absolute banger. I'm giving it a 4 today. I think it is a great game. It has a lot of content. I loved the content in it. It's just there was bugs, and it's frustrating when a bug takes you out of this wonderful immersive world. Still worth playing today. I wouldn't be giving it a 4 if I didn't think that it was worth spending money and playing today. And I spent 80 hours in this game. I took days off work to play this game, and I don't regret it. Awesome experience. A lot of content in there. Not like too much. I know the developers deliberately made main quest kind of short. That's why I'm kind of excited for big story DLCs to come in the future. An important caveat to this is I played this on a $2,000 gaming PC.
Wow.
So
I mean, I'll contrast that by saying I'm playing on I don't know, I've upgraded a component here or there. I'm playing on a RTX 2060 and a mid-tier Radeon or AMD card. I have not had any graphics problems, really. I don't have ray tracing on, but this game is so beautiful without it. I don't honestly care. I'm still immersed. I'll say that on my $1,000 machine. But I don't think you technically need it unless you really want to just stop and stare a lot, which I'm sure looks amazing. But I will speak from experience that the game holds up on its own. And I still wouldn't consider my computers in that lower tier and mid tier, but a more average PC could handle this game. It handles it just fine.
Yeah, I played it. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I really haven't put in as many hours as you have, but I'm very excited to keep playing the game, and the immersion's amazing. Bugs definitely take me out of it when I see someone T-pose or my car comes out of the sky, or people are comparing it to Red Dead Redemption 2, which apparently had much better everything in terms of graphics and immersion, but I honestly don't care. I'm a cyberpunk genre fan, so to be immersed in that genre, in that world, it's worth it to me. It's fun.
It's hard to not want to defend the game when people make the Red Dead Redemption comparisons. Rockstar had probably 3 or 4 times as many people and the budget working on that game as Cyberpunk did. So I feel like it's really disingenuous when it gets compared to those other games.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I didn't know it was such a small dev company. Like it to me, in my mind, this was the most hyped game of the decade, and took the longest time I've ever seen a game make. So in my head, I'm like, they had all the money and resources, but I mean, yeah, I think you bring up a good point. It's CD Projekt Red. It's not. It's not shoot like
Rockstar.
Activision or Rockstar. Yeah.
And I'll echo you. The game looks beautiful. I played it, on a 2080 Super, no ray tracing. Although I could run it with ray tracing, I chose to have better frames. But like the traditional rasterized global illumination is still gorgeous. And I was stopping to stare with my maxed out rasterized settings
Mhm.
every once in a while.
Yeah. Totally. It's good.
I'm excited to play it in the future. I'm gonna wait because I have a couple other things I'm gonna do on the meanwhile, but I'm gonna wait.
I don't want to overhype it because I can totally see some people not getting into it. Like if they don't like certain aspects of some games, like I will say the combat doesn't feel really intuitive to me. Like the gunplay, like the FPS side of it, doesn't feel like it's super polished. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's not fully done yet. But there's been some times when, like, I try to hack things, doesn't work out the way I want. Still don't really get that completely, but I don't know. If you can ignore that, or at least for me, I think everything else makes up for it.
All right. I think then it is time. Time for the top 10 of 2020, at least in the eyes of this Puerto Rican. Number 10. And this is going to be interesting because I have a question for you guys. Number 10, at a 3 out of 5, Animal Crossing New Horizons. My question to the two of you, how many hours do you think I played this game?
30.
It's I'm gonna put it at 110.
According to my Switch, I have played this game for 345 hours. I have no idea how.
You gotta chill, man.
Um,
The problem, he only chills. This is a chill game.
this game it's in a weird spot. I think it's going to mean a lot to a lot of people, especially kind of given the escape that it provided when things were getting rough. I don't think that this is the best Animal Crossing game. I'm certainly a lot more nostalgic about Wild World, because that was the one I started on. And that one had a pretty big following, too. I had a lot of friends that were playing that game. And sleepovers, that was a game that we would play. The customization is top-notch. I like that you can edit the outside of your island. I like a lot of the different DIY things that they added that you can make and customize. The crafting system is garbage. It is horrible. It's terrible. There's no defending it. Minecraft's is obviously it's far more integral to its game, but Monster Hunter has one that functions way better. Minecraft has one that makes sense and functions way better. This is just like, do you like taking two sticks, whacking them together, and then waiting 35 seconds for an animation to play out to make one item that you can then use to make another one, and after another 35 seconds? It's tedious is the only really good word for it. The fact that you can't customize normal items. Why can't I paint my refrigerator that I bought at the store? It seems silly. You have to go find someone else and trade with them, which is, a good thing to do to maybe incentivize talking with other players, playing with other people. But for some people that don't want to pay for online or don't have that ability, it's kind of a bummer. The villagers are a little bit less diverse in this one. I feel like there's better dialogue options in the old one, but I do like that they're a little more animated. They will do fun things like kind of run around, sit 5 feet from a chair that you put down and just sit their dirty butt on the ground instead, run through your flowers. Lots of good stuff. This really kind of comes across to me as the type of game where it's like you want someone to appreciate the time that you put into making your island look good. It's like an art project almost. It got something out of me. I don't know. 345 hours is a long time. It's just I think New Leaf is probably objectively the better game. This one was just too much of a slow burn. Content came out too slowly. I still can't believe we haven't had a shop upgrade introduced. But I know a lot of people that really like it. Not that that should matter for my own ranking, but I played it with. It was very popular at the start of quarantine. We did a lot of stupid stuff. It was fun just to go over to someone's island, have a contest, catch a couple fish, watch some shooting stars. It's a good, relaxing game, and it looks great. I mean, it looks very visually appealing.
It looks fantastic. I would say this is the pinnacle quarantining game. Like, Nintendo could not have gotten more lucky in the sense that this game came out within the first month of people quarantining. Like, it just lined up with them so well.
Mm-hmm.
I like numbers. This game has, I believe when I looked last, the second most sales out of any Switch game ever.
I believe it.
Sitting right now at 26 million units sold, which, like, to give you perspective, the last Animal Crossing on the 3DS barely reached 10 million in its lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
This beat that within the first, like, 5 weeks of total sales. Like, this game is super popular. Everyone's playing it and talking about it. At least they were at some point. Made them a lot of money.
This is it's a connection. The connections are insane. People I'm playing with that I expected to play this are playing this. People I never thought would be playing this are playing this. Everyone was playing it. If you had a Switch.
Yep. Yes, for sure.
And I'm glad that Will, you stuck to your guns and didn't buy a Switch for this. But
Me too.
Yeah.
It's not worth buying a Switch for. But
No.
if you have a Switch, it's definitely a good time killer game.
I think if you're a diehard Animal Crossing fan, you probably already had a Switch anyway.
Yeah, no, that's fair. One thing I was going to add and save for this discussion is that I think it's fascinating to me that Uzak could put so many hours into it and still like it. I don't think Nintendo had you as a target audience. Like, Nintendo had the other 25 million people playing this game that just casually pick it up for 10 to 30 minutes a day, where, like, you are a part of a minority that, like, maximized. I don't know. I feel like you got everything you could in the game quite quickly and still keep playing it. And
I kind of didn't. I kind of didn't, and I think that's why it was such a slow burn to get some of the stuff I wanted. And the reason, again, it's like it was like an art project. I wanted it to look a certain way before I called it quits. And unfortunately, I didn't really get to finishing both of my houses. I got close enough.
But the fact that you had two houses, I don't think most people even created a separate account to make a second house.
I mean, to be fair, I did say one of the things they got to fix is making money, and I don't think they necessarily fixed it. I think just so many people were playing that it's so easy to rig the stock market. It's so easy to make money in this game.
I don't think they expected people to make websites for finding people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Its own economy.
Right. It's a good game. I gave it 4.5, I think. Maybe I'd give it a 4. Definitely in my top 10, though, for this year.
All right, number 9. And I don't know how many hours I played, unfortunately, but Ori and the Will of the Wisps. This is basically just an improvement because it's more like Hollow Knight. It is scary how much stuff that they ripped from Hollow Knight. Honestly. There's a bigger focus on combat. You get, instead of having this strange kind of self-targeting laser thing that you had in the first game. Basically, you just had a little familiar that would shoot bolts at random. It felt like sometimes. This game, you get a sword, you get a hammer, you get a bow and arrow, you get a bunch of different crazy abilities. You can customize them, develop them as much as you want to. If you want your hammer to like make a shockwave effect, you can do that. It still kept a lot of the same skills and abilities that the old game did. But just kind of changed the direction. It's more trying to be an acrobatic platformer, but also with this touch of combat that you can do in between. I remember distinctly liking a number of locales in this game compared to the previous one that were just like very cool, both visually with the music and the ambiance and the atmosphere, as well as the gameplay that they introduced. This game does introduce bosses, since there was an emphasis on combat. I think that's probably its weakest point, because all of the boss fights just didn't feel that great. Nick, you'll know at least for Hollow Knight, there's this interesting concept like where the more aggressive you are, the more energy your character gathers that allows you to use your ability. Ori doesn't really have that. You need to kind of recharge them at specific drop points. And you can tell for one of the fights in particular, they just had this one drop point sitting in the corner that you can kind of just go and farm. And it would appear maybe like every 30 seconds. But your normal attacks would do like nothing. So it's basically just like, can you continue to dodge until you eventually either whack the thing to death with your piddly sword or save up for bigger attacks. But again, the visuals and music both carry over and just really make it good. I didn't cry at all. Not once. Story is also decent, so.
Is this a sequel to the original?
Yes, it is a direct sequel.
Okay.
And I think this one actually came out this year, too. Again,
I think I've seen
go ahead.
clips of it. It does look good. I know. I'm just gonna say, is this? It's hard to tell which one's which because I've seen both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds like they've picked at least in the style of game that you like. It seems to appeal to it more.
Right, and again, they down to the ability to hold the B button and refresh your health at the cost of your mana or whatever. Yeah. So it was kind of hard not to have certain aspects of it just be like, yeah, I mean, that's good. I like that. Mm-hmm. But would also recommend, if you liked Ori and you specifically like the platforming, maybe not like it as much, but it's still an Ori game through and through. So, very good. 3 out of 5. I'm not sure if I said that. Number 8. Probably giving this one a boost because of I haven't had a chance to properly review it from when I played it back in the day. Halo 3. I was kind of counting ODST as its own kind of just the campaign, where Halo 3 was everything else, like the original Halo 3 campaign mixed with the multiplayer and all that. This is by far and away my favorite Halo. And I think it still holds up.
Like single player or multiplayer or both?
Both. It's probably one of my more favorite stories. Again, not that I was like ever super invested in them, but this one's a pretty easy to give a 4 out of 5 in terms of Halo games. I liked playing all the stupid shit that we made up, like laser tag. I liked all the stuff that our other Alex, he had all that Forge stuff that carried over. I think there was a night or two that we just played all those crazy games.
Yeah.
For my money, this is the best Halo.
Yeah. I'd agree to that. Online, I mean, like multiplayer wise, it holds up well. The Forge games are really fun. I'm amazed that they allowed support for that. Like they didn't. Again, one of the things they didn't have to do, but like it made it really fun for the people that spent days working on custom games. Now playing them again, whatever, 10 years later. It's pretty fun.
Any strong feelings for you, Will?
I have a lot of fun. Like I was saying, I love all the Halo multiplayers. Fantastic games. The single player campaign was a lot of fun. I don't know if I could necessarily tell you what happened in Halo 3, the campaign, either because I was shit faced. Well, that might be it.
there is no or.
Either that or yeah.
It was either drinking a lot or got it. I think that I don't know. That's the one where you're separated from Cortana. You gotta go get her back. And I remember there being scarabs and tank driving missions and a bunch of crazy stuff.
Was I there for that? I don't think I was there for that one.
Possibly not. I don't know. That might have been one of the ones you can only do 2 people with.
Okay.
I've been Arby and the Chief.
Oh, I thought Halo 2 had RB.
I think they both did. I don't know. I'm sorry, Halo fans, if I'm just getting this wrong and I'm defending you. So, don't have a time on this one either. Master Chief Collection is sitting at 64 hours for me, so I'm sure of the multiplayer, it probably occupies a good chunk of that. But yeah, that's my favorite Halo game. possibly controversial pick on this one. I wasn't really sure where to put this either. Not controversial, but I guess in my own mind. Jackbox 7. I think this is probably one of the best Jackboxes, period. And I was kind of giving it a little bit of a boost just because it's kind of been a party-centric year in terms of games. So a 4 out of 5, I'd say. I love Quiplash, and that continues to deliver. TKO is probably my favorite Jackbox game ever because it's just or not. Oh well, that is true. TKO is my favorite game, but Champed Up is the one that they added in this.
Champed Up. Yep.
That is such a bonkers, stupid, crazy game, and I love it.
It is good.
No end of hilarity.
I've ranked all the Jackbox games, I think, at 30 minutes, but Champed Up gets at least 40.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's just another drawing game. Like, it shouldn't be that funny, but the things they do with, like, the prompts and the prospect that your drawing is up against another drawing and then you can redraw, I don't know, it surprised me how excitingly fun this was.
Mm-hmm. The fact that you can, like, try to dunk on someone.
Yes.
And be like, Will with a shotgun, and then it would be like, all right, up against Will with a rocket pack and a rocket launcher.
Yes.
Something like that. And it'll be like the champion of getting bread or something stupid.
Yep. Highly recommend
Shotgun
it.
wins because it's hit scan.
Fair enough. Other games on there.
One.
Talking Points. That's a funny one.
I thought that one was pretty fun.
And Blather Round, which is not necessarily a funny game, but I do like the concept of it.
Yep. The one where you have to describe something with, like,
the words that people give you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I finally got around to playing Devils in the Details. Not that fun. It's supposed to be co-op and then not co-op at the same time. It kind of incentivizes you to get extra points for yourself, while continually striving for a group goal. And it's just, maybe we weren't playing it right, but everyone I played it with seemed to be like, yeah, this was weird in comparison.
I mean, there's other ones to play instead.
Yep. 13 hours on that one. Numero 6 in 6th place. Open RCT 2, Open Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, which is a modded project of the original Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 and 1, if you have it. This is probably just one of my favorite games, period. I think RCT is on my top 10 of all time, just for what it is, what it stands for, and how much fun I had playing it as a kid. And it's still a good game. This is something you can just kind of pick up, and there's fun puzzle and design aspects to it that you can enjoy. The fact that you can now make it multiplayer is pure chaos, and I love it. It's a game that I don't think is well necessarily designed. Sometimes you gotta tweak the amount of money, but I think there might be tentative plans for them to make their own custom scenarios. If there's not, I'm sure you could just make your own. That editor is there. So there's a lot of potential.
I've never played. I don't think I actually ever played Roller Coaster Tycoon. I was the only one in that server that we were hopping in on, that multiplayer game that's never played Roller Coaster Tycoon. So after hearing about it for my whole life, actually playing it was finally fun, especially with more people. I can't really bring them the perspective of what it's like, from playing this old game, but it's definitely fun. It's not meant for multiplayers by any means, but I was surprised at how well the mod worked. We never really had glitches. After talking about how Gary's mod just never really worked for us, this worked out of the box right away. I don't think we ran into any issues or anything.
Was this written in assembly or something?
It is famously written by one person in the hardest to write language that you can imagine. But very optimized, and maybe that's why there's no glitches when they made this multiplayer mod. I remember there not being enough space. I remember them being like, I wish we could each make our own whole park, but it seemed kind of small. Maybe that was just because of the map we were on, but
yeah,
it's fixable.
That's definitely map-based.
Yeah.
All right. Number 5. Monster Hunter World Iceborne expansion. They took a lot of things from the original and made them better. They also took a lot of things and made them more questionable. The game is still great, and I am glad at the very least that for Rise they're using a similar engine because the controls are very fluid. I know, Will, obviously, combat-wise, it's not your favorite thing in the world, but for a longer time fan of the series, this is still a very good game. It's a very solid game. The story doesn't really matter as per usual, but the combat's fun. I like a lot of the variants that they added. I like a lot of the new weapons that they had. They made a solid attempt at making all of these fights epic, almost to the point of a fault. The DLC that they offer, and this is probably my biggest gripe, in Monster Hunter, especially in Generations Ultimate as a comparison, while there is a defined meta, you could say, of people that will speedrun shit and stuff like that, there is such a good emphasis on all of the monsters to a point being important. If you want to make a good armor set or have a good weapon for a specific class or a specific element type, you will probably go around fighting a bunch of different monsters. World throws that all out the window where only the most relevant or the most recent DLC is relevant. When the Raging Brachydios and Furious Rajang came out, the Raging Brachy weapons were the best, pretty much, with a few exceptions of Safajiva, which was also a DLC monster that came up before that. And then when they decided to end it with the big bad of all big bads, the Fatalis, those weapons are so horribly broken that you do not need to use any other weapon ever. That's just how good they are. There's literally, for specific weapon types, like maybe if you're doing something technical like a bowgun or trying to have different elements on dual blades, you might switch off of them. But in Seklave, the only one that matters is the Fatalis one. And as a
that kind of goes against, like, again, I've only played, I guess 100 hours is only comparatively, but like in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, it sounded like, and I never got to endgame, but you could pick different branches of weapons and you could have different classes and styles and armor sets and weapons that fit different playstyles. Sounds like what you're saying is that they just introduced power creep into the DLC.
More or less.
If you want to be competitive, you have to buy our DLC. That's kind of disappointing.
And it's again, it's not about like being competitive per se, but like
No, but just
when
like...
it's that egregious, it's just like, why would I use these old weapons that I have? I want to try and farm for these new ones. That also instills the problem of, which I don't think existed, at least in my mind. It's like once you beat Fatalis, it's like, what are you even going to be challenged by? What is there to fight against that's going to be worth your time or difficult? Generations Ultimate, you have the EX monsters if you want to grind those out, and there's like 15 of them. And they're all really hard fights. This one was just, whoop, you got a big dragon. The other problem is that way too many of the endgame monsters rely on AoE, and most of it's bullshit AoE, like instant kill AoE, which I was never a fan of. There was a monster they introduced that literally has a DPS check built in, which, besides that, I honestly love that fight, so that made me sad. And it kind of goes from being, oh, thank God, I finally triumphed over this, to, oh my God, it's done. We're done. I'm never fighting this again. That all said, it still works really well as a game. The guiding lands, they thankfully listened to, because it was a little grindy at first. They made that better. Getting to just spend however much time you want out on an expedition constantly fighting stuff is badass. That's a good, fun thing to do. Yeah, it's just, this game has a very different idea of what the end game is like, and I think it's a little too grindy, and the final bosses are all kind of bullshit. But I don't know. I'm worried that it's probably going to stay this way unless Rise is viciously popular, because everyone and their mother that, like, this is their first Monster Hunter game loves this shit. And I constantly get into debates with someone about like how Generations Ultimate is the far superior game. They're like, why can't you just be excited about both? And it's like, because I don't want this to become the new norm. But just because of how well refined the combat is and how much fun the base game itself of Iceborne is before they kind of got crazy with the DLC, this is still a very solid 4 out of 5. 448 hours into this thing. Having people to play it with was definitely a boost too. So...
Jeez.
It's a good game, and
correct me if I'm wrong. You built your PC for this game originally, or at least you upgraded it for this reason.
I upgraded it for it.
Yeah.
I mean, amongst other things, I just finally got into a position where I was comfortable to do that anyway. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see. A lot of times people get into the first game they play a lot, and they get into that one, and then when new ones come out, yeah, usually they get some like this one's not as good as the original. I mean, I felt like that for several series. I'm curious to hear if Rise will change your opinion, or if you're always going to think that the Monster Hunter 4 is going to be the peak.
I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Rise right now. It's really going to come down to how they handle endgame. I had that opinion about Generations, and then Ultimate turned it around. So. Generations
Yeah,
I thought was
maybe.
kind of slow, and then Ultimate just like kicked it into overdrive. I'm like, there's like 7 million different things I can hunt, and the forms and the styles are all so cool. And that wasn't my first one. 4 was my first one. So
Well, yeah. Then I guess who knows?
yeah,
I will stick to my Switch ones.
I think that's wise.
Small note on Monster Hunter World, I have it up on Steam to kind of get visuals on what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Steam is telling me that it's similar to another game I played, Sea of Thieves.
Yes, very similar.
Yes. I love how they. Yeah.
Anyway, I feel like I ragged on that a bit. It's probably just because I'm overly passionate about that game. Because Monster Hunter 4 is just my flat out favorite game ever. So Generations comes pretty close too. So the fact that this one kind of missed that mark just because of some what I think were silly design decisions kind of just made me sad. But it's still a good game. Still a good game.
That's fair.
Okay. All right, we are now in the realm of 5 out of 5s from here on up. Number 4, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Probably the best game since Double Dash. Maybe even like it a little bit more in some regards. I don't know. But my cousin talked me into buying this, and I'm very glad he did. It set up a very interesting dynamic of I was always losing to him, but now I'm always beating my friends, at least. So, it's Mario Kart. I don't know what else to say about it besides it's good. It's accessible. The online is solid. The diversity with the karts, while there are definitely some builds that are better than others, you don't need to be using the absolute best to be doing good. Because if we're looking at a purely like real strict tier list perspective, I think my loadout should be beating my cousin more efficiently, but he's rocking Luigi, and that's what he does because that's his favorite character, and he's still handing my ass to me. So
I never thought it was a game that, like, I guess they show you stats and there's data to show that certain cards are better, but, like, it's not a game where stats are more important than skill. Like, skill is so important in this game.
Yeah, familiarity with the courses and skill are huge. I mean, you definitely can screw yourself over with bad cart builds. Like, if you put everything in speed, no acceleration, no handling, you're gonna get screwed. But at least it gives you the option. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it gives nice diversity, like you said, to have different types of ways to play. I think this is going back to what I said about Mount Your Friends, where this game has such... I love games that have a wide variety of skill level, where it's low barrier to entry. Anyone can grab a controller and play this game, like anyone can.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can get ultra competitive and be like scraping off milliseconds off runs if you want. And this is just like peak Mario Kart, like you said. There's nothing really to say about it. It's Mario Kart. Like if you played Mario Kart, you play this game.
If you like Mario Kart, you're gonna like this game.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of... I don't really see where they'll go from here. Like, I really don't need another Mario Kart after this one. Maybe just because I haven't played it that much. I don't think I have many hours like you did.
Yeah, I think the window for DLC is probably gone, but if they made some, I'd get it.
I mean, I'm talking about, like, next-gen console. Like, if there is a next generation, whatever Nintendo comes out with,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I really don't need another Mario Kart than this one. It's nothing I was saying I wish they would have added this. I guess more tracks is all.
Yeah.
The different courses are fun.
35 hours
This
on that
one-
one.
Okay.
So. All right. Well, that puts us at the top 3. Number 3. Anyone have a guess?
Can you list the 3 that you had on the list? Or no, it's like 8.
So, well, I'll just get into it because I don't want to spoil it for anyone listening. But
Okay.
number 3, and I think the hours are wrong on this one, honestly, because I feel like I played this a lot. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This game has been on the top 10 list 3 years running, which is a first. 105 hours. I feel like I have easily put at least 150. I am just blown away by the second Fighter Pass DLC. Every single one of these, for one reason or another, has been a banger. Min Min is amazing because she's my new favorite character,
right.
just period. Steve is amazing because it's Minecraft Steve. I hate him as a character, but it's just hilarious that he's in this game.
God, it took him so long to develop that one too. Yeah, this isn't. They worked on that one for forever.
And then you look at Steve, the next character that this guy is sitting next to in the character select screen is fucking Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. What type of game are we playing anymore?
It's been that from the beginning. You can have Pikachu fight Bowser.
But this is but those are at least in the same like Nintendo IP. This is Mojang, or that's, I don't even know if that's a company anymore. Steve, Minecraft Steve versus pretty anime boy with big long sword Sephiroth and pecs. Yes, the chest
and the tits.
Second shirtless boy in the game, I think.
But like this has been again like going. This is going back to what Smash Bros has always been. It's been like the main intro of the first game is like you're a kid playing with their action figures. That's kind of what it's all about. This does it so well. You're playing with your Minecraft superhero and your Sephiroth superhero. That's what it does really well.
This is the best Smash game in my opinion. Melee is fun, but I can't go back to it at this point. The controls it feels too different, and there's too many fun characters in this one. Yeah, again, like Smash is Smash. I don't know if you like Smash Bros. It's a good game. Play. Everybody likes Smash Bros. Well, I think, maybe you at least kind of like it, right?
I mean, it was a party game. It would get a minute ranking score if it had one. But you guys always played so much more of it than me that I just never felt competitive.
It's the flip flop of Rainbow Six there, eh? Huh?
Yeah, I'm getting my revenge post college.
I'm pretty sure on like
Let's go play some Halo.
Several occasions while we were playing Siege and Will just like fucking clocks me from across the map, I'm gonna be like, the next time we play Smash, if it ever happens, oh my god. I am going to just massacre him. Oh my god.
I kind of like I said, Mario Kart's a perfect Mario Kart. This is my favorite Smash Bros. Game. I wouldn't say it's perfect, and it's only because online I still feel very slated on. You said you don't like playing off random people. That's fine. Like I really enjoy playing off random people and climbing the global Smash rankings. And online is just still absolutely terrible. Like,
yeah, the connection's not good.
Yeah, it's absolutely pitiful.
Yeah,
that a game that makes them this much money, they just can't figure out networking in 2021 and 2020.
And I mean, I don't know the technical specs, but like Mario Kart never had that, and Monster Hunter never had that.
They're a little different because fighting games are like split-second decisions. You have to have like frame-perfect input sometimes, and that's just hard to do online. But like if Slippy is a Mario Super Smash Bros. Melee online port for like PC, and it's got like something called, what is it called? Rollback. I think it's called Rollback, something like that. It's some new way to do networking for games and such. And new fighter games are including it apparently. Like new Street Fighters aren't including it. So there's hope that Nintendo will include that in. That would make it a 5 out of 5 for me. It's still definitely within my top 10 for sure. I'd put most hours into this on any Switch game. I think even more than Monster Hunter. So definitely a good game. Still room for improvement, but.
Can't wait to see who the hell the last 3 fighters are now. Honestly, I think they kind of blew their load a little bit with Sephiroth, but I don't know, man. Sky's the fucking limit at this point.
I didn't know who that dude was.
Rocket League car, Fortnite guy. I hope to God not, but
Goku.
No, they already said they're not doing Goku. But
I know.
Who's your?
Is Master Chief in there yet?
He's not. He could be.
No. They're not gonna bring a dude with a gun. Although they have.
What? They already have it. They have 2 people with guns. They have a lot of people with guns.
Guess.
Joker has a gun. Bayonetta has 4 guns. She has guns that are attached to her high heels.
Yeah, I know. That's true.
He's perfect. Guns, grenades, armor lock, jetpack.
It's literally Solid Snake.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Solid Snake. He's got a shit ton of guns.
Yeah, I know.
Who's your dream pick? Both of you. Start with Will. Go.
Doom Marine, the Doom Slayer.
That would be cool.
I was a huge fan of Dragon Ball Z Budokai, so Vegeta would be amazing.
We said no to Goku. We will allow Vegeta though.
Yeah, no. Piccolo. We draw the line at Piccolo. He's fine.
I feel like I had this answer down pat, and I can't remember who the hell. It's
Really?
Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts Rep would be fun.
Oh, yeah.
I think. The one that I know is never going to happen, just because I like the game so much, would be another Castlevania rep. I'd love to see Shinoa, because I think that would be a really cool mix of magic and blades and shit. Monster Hunter, I still think is a possibility.
Yeah, I could see that.
Except his Byleth is basically their moveset, so I don't know.
No, you get to play as Rathian.
You get to play as Rathian. Game makes you feel like Rathian. Fuck Rathalos. He's already in the game. Alright, number 2. With 43 hours of gameplay, the other bright star that killed the Fall Guys. Among Us. This is, in my mind, the perfect Mafia, Werewolf, what have you game so far that I've experienced. I actually went back, on a side note here, and played One Night Ultimate Werewolf earlier in the year. Not as fun as I remember it. Just because there's a little bit more randomness, and I think it's definitely a little bit more heavily dictated by group size. Anyway, still a good game. Among Us, though, I love every aspect of this. I think it's funny that like you're just doing a bunch of little mini games as crewmates. It's fun. It's stressful, but fun as hell to be an imposter and kill people and try and pin it on anything. I think I've already peaked, I'm afraid to say. We had like a 5-person or a 6-person game one time where we were doing one imposter, and I did the most brazen thing of doing a he said, she said twice in a row. Killed someone in front of someone else, pinned it on them. Next kill did the exact same thing for the game. And I don't know how I got away with it. It's honestly, I don't even get upset when I die sometimes because you can honestly control that to an extent. It's like if you're going to try and do the lone run and gun style gameplay, that comes with a risk. You know, you get your stuff done quicker, probably 9 times out of 10, but that's also probably because you're going to be a ghost 9 times out of 10. So yeah, I'm excited for the new map. Discussing with people has just always been fun, trying to suss out liars, and the whole community is a thing with the memes and all that. It's been just hilarious. So, real good game. Real good game.
It's a very fun game. It's a fun 2020 game that I don't know. It's gotten people that don't like to play video games into playing video games. Yeah, I mean, it takes everything that's fun of a deception game and puts it into this kind of cutesy, like you're in a spaceship setting. Yeah, I'm amazed it did so well, to be honest, because it's kind of a hard game to get going. You need a pretty sizable group, and I imagine it's really boring to play online with random people.
That's probably the biggest downside. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I think the fact that you can play on mobile is probably actually what's contributed to its huge rise. Is that people can play it on mobile just fine. Yeah, I'd put it up there with my top games of the year as well. Probably I've had some really good memories from it. I don't think I've like completely mastered it like you said you have. I don't know any of the details.
I don't claim that, but I just said I peaked.
You peaked. Yeah, it's a very good game.
Well, the boys here know my opinions of the game. I give this one 15 minutes.
It's just
I don't know. It's just like I never felt all that engaged with it. And like the whole deception social stuff. Like it's all right for a little bit.
That's fair.
I mean, it's solely based on the people you play with.
Yeah.
I think like you have to have a good group of people that like you know each other well enough. Maybe you don't, but like you're willing to, I don't know, make fun of each other, or like just kind of throw people under the bus. I can totally see where it's a terrible game under the right circumstances. With the wrong group, it could be not fun, but with the right group, when it just clicks, it's real fun. It's stressful as hell.
Yes.
It's very fun.
And then the number one game for 2020, jumping up from a 2 out of 5 from when I initially downloaded it back in 2016. I'm really glad that I A, came back to it, and B, waited until it was finished. 57 hours over 2 different playthroughs. Subnautica. What a freaking game, man. I don't really know if there's anything I really have negative to say besides the game is still a little buggy at certain places. Sometimes creatures will clip a little bit out of rocks and scenery and things. Depending on how good your computer is, the loads, like transitioning from one biome to the next, can be pretty bad. But on this computer, that wasn't an issue, really. I would say like 90% of the time. I love that this is a survival game. I played it on freedom mode, which just means you don't need to worry about food and water, and that's just kind of a personal thing. I've seen a lot of people play through it. I know Will played through it on the normal mode, but it's just not my cup of tea, like having to worry about food and stuff. I think there was enough that the game was still kind of thrown at you that still made it difficult at times. One of which being, trying not to drown just because of sheer stupidity. But as someone that is kind of bothered by the idea of ocean depths and large creatures that may or may not be lurking in them, also not liking this idea of swimming next to large submerged objects, it was partially a horror game for me, and I really loved every aspect of that. The crafting's fun. The upgrades all feel really good to get. It's always really enjoyable when you're like, yes, I can now go to new biomes because I have upgraded crush step module, or yes, I now have perimeter defense on my tiny ship, so I don't need to necessarily worry about getting snatched out by a giant Reaper Leviathan. The frickin' Cyclops is so cool. It's this massive submarine, for those of you that don't know, that you get to pilot. I think it says it's designed to be done by 3 people. You can definitely do it with 1, but I don't know. The fact that there's this massive construct of metal with all this different technology at your fingertips, from torpedoes to cameras and crazy stuff like that. The fact that you can carry smaller vehicles in it and like go to the depot bay and drop out of it into a prawn suit, which is like this mecha that allows you to harvest resources and fly around with a grappling hook. It's amazing, and it's fun. I love it. I love the exploration. I love the different biomes. It's crazy to me that I can be so scared of open water, even with the knowledge of all this stuff beneath me, and just be apprehensive to like want to go and explore a new area. That's honestly something I haven't felt since probably Amnesia. But it's always worth it. Not the characters, because you're really the only character besides your PDA, which I love the snarky commentary it gives you from time to time. The creatures, huge highlight. From giant, massive eel-like leviathans that can crush your ships in their jaws, to strange squids that are part squid, part crab, and shoot out EMP pulses to fuck with your electronics, to horrifying warpers that try and attack you for reasons I will not spoil. Story is kind of subdued in Subnautica. You kind of got to do a lot of exploring on your own to figure out what's going on until you hit a point where things start kind of quickly picking up. And the ending is also very good. So, yeah, again, like I struggled to kind of find bad things to say about this, but this was a very good game. I'm very excited for the sequel, though I do see some things that might maybe take away from me personally for it, but I will hold those reservations for when I get to it, because I think it's still going to be very fun.
Can you explain to someone, like, this is not a very well-known game, at least I'm sure it is some people, but I just don't know it very well.
So
I even like watch you play for a little bit. What is it like?
It's a survival game, I think, through and through, crafting and survival. But like the premise is you crash land on a planet that is completely ocean, and you don't know what caused you to crash, and as far as you can tell, and it slowly becomes more and more apparent, you might be by yourself here. You might have been the only survivor. So it's up to you to try and figure out a way to continue to not only survive, again, either just by avoiding dangerous areas and creatures, or by, finding sources of potable food and water, but also how do you get off of this place? How do you get away? So it's a lot of exploration, little bit of crafting elements in there for a lot of the stuff and gear you make. But a survival game through and through, I'd say. Adventure survival. Would you agree, Will?
It's not like a survival Minecraft where there's like really nothing to do besides just explore and build and just kind of like rack up resources. There's like a main mission involved.
There's base building, but it's not. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like Minecraft. There's a subtle story to it, and what I really liked about the game was just how subtle that was and how sort of freeform the story was. And like you can go deep and you can read all the little text bits that pop up and determine all the sci-fi history going on.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can just follow the mission objectives and beat the game.
Yeah, the end game is getting to go home.
Got it. Okay.
You're not here by choice, which I think is a very sane thing to think.
Sure.
Will, I'm pretty sure, has watched me a couple of times, and I was just exploring an area, and you just see the tail of something, and I'd be like, yeah, nope, fuck this, nope, come back later, nope.
I'm surprised to see this get the number one. I didn't think it'd be as high as it is.
Really?
I mean, personally, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. Excellent game, loved it. I'm surprised that you went back to it. Beyond my own lack of excitement for replaying video games.
Mm-hmm. I think I wanted to be more adventurous was my second playthrough and explore some shit I missed, but
I was under the impression that you already knew the story because you always know the stories of games that you don't play.
Yes.
And you have not played this for a long time.
I hadn't played it for a long time, and I think that's kind of the downside of it being open early access style game. Is it was almost hard, not at certain points, because I had interest in it, just not enough to play it while it was being built. So I knew of certain story elements. Again, I'm trying not to say too much, but of like why the disaster happens and things like that. But the areas I was pretty much completely unaware of. I mean, you could know that there is a biome and then know absolutely nothing about it. So it's still very much discovery. I think the only thing I maybe might have get myself out of was like the shock and awe of seeing some of the creatures for the first time. But yeah, I mean, again, the second playthrough that I did was definitely more just like I wanted to be more bold. I wanted to explore a lot of the areas that I didn't really have the need to because I got away with like finding upgrades and other stuff elsewhere. So I was like, I never went here. I want to do that. I also wanted to get all the achievements just because I like the game that much. And one of them is very worth it. The cuttlefish one. It's all safe.
I can't imagine it'd be worth it.
It was worth it. Definitely worth it. But yeah.
From the perspective of someone who doesn't know what's going on in terms of like what makes me very excited to try this game, and I don't know, with this review, I for sure want to try it. I have another We'll see. I mean, it sounds interesting to me. What's fascinates me, it's kind of like, and I don't want to like get on a tangent, but I started watching WandaVision with Lexi yesterday, the new Marvel on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And I love not knowing where it's going. Like, I love experiencing something without knowing what it's going to end like. And I feel like with a lot of games and movies nowadays, you can kind of tell where it's going because there's so many tropes that they follow. And I'm glad I haven't been spoiled yet, but knowing that this has somewhere else to go and that like there's a larger world to explore, it excites me, and it sounds like something that I would enjoy.
This podcast is sponsored by Disney Plus. See WandaVision.
Watch WandaVision.
No.
Only available on.
No.
It's a. Yeah, I know. Will make fun of me for saying I'll play every game and never playing a single one. This sounds like something I'd enjoy. I'll just leave it at that then. I won't promise you I'll play it, but it sounds like something I'd very much enjoy.
I have very high confidence that you will play 2 hours of this game.
I think it's available on Switch.
It's really.
Yeah.
Huh. I feel like it's a PC game. I feel like it's a game I want to
don't play it on Switch.
Yeah. I don't want to play it on Switch. I want
Don't
to play it on
anything that doesn't have a Samsung SSD inside of it.
Yeah.
It says it's on VR. sounds
Oh
horrific.
my god, that was the other thing I did. I did play it in VR. I would totally play through the game again in VR because it made it that much more immersive, and it did scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I'm looking at this Oculus, whatever 2 or whatever Quest 2. Sounds like it'll be fun to play on that thing.
God, just looking down into
Yeah.
nothingness, I was like, oh, it was so uncomfortable, but so cool.
Right. If I get over any nauseating feelings of being, because I mean, I think everyone to some degree has a fear of dark depths of thalassophobia. So sounds like a fun, scary experience.
And again, like it's not necessarily a scary game, but there are definitely things that might startle you. Being chased, or just something randomly coming out of the corner that you didn't see and biting you. But yeah,
Surprises me as well. Like Will said, did not expect this to be so high up, but
I don't think anyone did. Of everyone I asked and actually showed the list to, they're like, nah, that's not gonna be it. Nah, that's not gonna be it.
That was close.
You were? You thought it was gonna be Among Us?
yeah, I thought it was gonna be Among Us as well.
Good games. And I mean, I'm probably gonna continue to play Among Us into the future too. So we'll see what's on the horizon. But speaking of which, before we wrap up here, games in 2021. Excited to play. Looking forward to.
Tony Hawk's
Horizon
Pro
Zero
Skater.
Dawn.
Horizon Zero Dawn's on my list. For
Monster
sure.
Hunter.
Yep.
Reach.
Monster Hunter Reach, for sure. Cyberpunk, maybe, towards the end of the year. I'm enjoying Control so far. I want to get back into playing that. That's probably what I'm going to do tomorrow. Below Zero is probably going to be finished in springtime.
Yep. That's I'm planning on it.
Subnautica Below Zero. Witcher 3 is always on that list. I don't know if I'll ever get it done.
It's a 5 out of 5 game if I ever played one.
Yeah, I know.
6 out of 5.
Well, we are of opposing minds on the combat. You don't like Monster Hunter combat, but like The Witcher, and I'm the opposite. But I would play through that on the easiest difficulty, if not for just the story. So, Tony Hawk, if it ever gets off Epic, would be nice.
Yeah, if I could find a PlayStation controller to play it on, it'd be amazing.
I bought Recore. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be ever super into playing it, but it was like $7. So, made by Retro. They made Metroid Prime. Figured it might be all right. Breath of the Wild 2 is probably not going to be out. Metroid Prime 4 is definitely not going to be out. Hollow Knight Silksong might be out. But yeah.
Probably more Overwatch, honestly.
Yeah.
Not a new game, but I'll probably be playing more Overwatch.
I don't know if 2 is supposed to be coming out anytime soon.
I saw a leak that it won't be until 2022.
Hmm.
But I could be wrong.
No hope on Rainbow Six Quarantine coming out next year.
Jeez. I'd play through that. Or is that's the event, right? That's not a new game that I just missed.
No, it's gonna be a new game.
Oh.
Hmm.
Never mind
Rainbow
then.
Six Quarantine.
I think that's what it's called.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure. Well, they announced it like a little over a year ago, and I'm pretty sure it got put on indefinite hiatus when pandemic happened.
A little too on
So
the
it came
nose.
out-
Decided a little too politically on.
Yeah. June of 2019 is when the trailer came out. And that's
Inconvenient.
hilarious.
I'll probably take a day off for Monster Hunter when that comes out.
You know what I'd love to play with us for, which I don't think we could ever do, and this is kind of tangent, so I apologize, but this will be the last thing I say. I really want to try playing. I don't know if any of you guys ever had this experience, but playing Nazi zombies in Call of Duty was some of the most fun I've had playing honestly any video game that I can remember as a group in co-op mode.
Mhm.
And I've seen people play Nazi zombies on PC. Unfortunately, I'd buy the whole game, but if there would be any way to come up that we play it not without buying the whole game, just by playing Nazi zombies, I'd be definitely down. Pretty fun.
That's the most fun I think I've had playing COD. We'll say that much.
Yeah. I'm looking at this in Quarantine. It looks kind of zombie-y. That's what made me think of it.
Treasure Chest of Doom. Get the teddy bear.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. This has been at least 2 hours, I'm sure. 2.5. Yeah, pretty
And
close.
over 3.
Yeah, we started at 2:15.
Something like that. I don't know. I have the first recording was like an hour 10. This one's an hour 20. So, if you made it to the end of this, bravo. Thank you for listening. We'll see if we end up doing this again in the future. Maybe we'll have to super streamline it somehow. But I think this is also a different kind of year. You know, spending a lot of it just doing nothing but sitting on my ass and playing video games. So hopefully that won't be future state. One can hope. But as I said, still some fun stuff to be had in the future. So yeah. Thanks for sticking around and listening, guys. Have a fantastic day. Bye.